Hydrofield cuts through my neighborhood.
Is it up there? Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Fearlessly Authentic. I am here with Steve.
What up, people?
And we have awesome guests, an activist and a citizen journalist. We're gonna bring him right on the screen.
Hello. Hi there, everybody.
Welcome to your first episode with us, Fearlessly Authentic.
Hopefully more to come, but yes, nice to be here.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm super excited to have you. You know, little disclosure, we probably aren't going to agree on everything because I have never met a human I agree 100% with on anything. So, just putting that out there.
It's not our responsibility. Yeah.
There's so much hate going on about people like, there's so much hate and hate watchers and people just trying to be so inclusive by excluding people that I just wanted to put that little disclosure out there and like, hey, let's wave to our hate watchers. How are you? Hi, good to see you.
Interesting type of person to be. Not my personality type, but hello, hate watchers.
So I originally saw you came across my Twitter feed and you were out doing you were getting ready to do some on the ground work, and I just felt like, wow, we need to have a conversation. So I'm so glad that you're able to join us tonight. Do you want to tell everybody like a little bit of like just your like your history and what got you to where you are now, whatever you want to share publicly?
Well, yeah, sure. I've obviously thought about where we would probably begin. No, but you noticed me because I took an interest, and I'm trying to figure out ways to get my message out. That's just one. Like I like to research, so my wife kind of always told me like I'm looking for ways to use my skills, so I could find a career. And she's always told me maybe be an undercover detective or one of those people that go catch people that are cheating. Because I like research, I like figuring stuff out. I know laws, I know how to do that kind of stuff, but. So figuring out that I'm that type of person, I'm an investigator. I like to research. I figured out that Bud Light was sponsoring an event in Flagstaff, and they're an easy target right now. So I was able to bring a lot of attention to my cause just by finding out that they had an all ages event, which really bothered me because we all know what the LGB is for. So it's not meant for children to be in front of drag shows and stuff. So.
Yeah, it's supposed to be a soft spot for adults to land, and it's a very loose, it's a loose terminology, loose term. The LGB, it's about our sexuality, and most people that are here probably are aware of that. But yeah, it's good to clarify any of those things.
Yeah, because like I care about my kids growing up in a safe area where they're not going to be manipulated. Being autistic myself, and knowing that it's more than likely genetic. I have a daughter, and she's displaying a lot of the qualities of an autistic person, and displaying a lot of the qualities I had and behaviors I had. So, just knowing the type of person I was, I know these young kids, and especially autistic children, are vulnerable to what they see. And I know I was. So they're just children in general mimic, and people that don't fit into society like autistic children are really going to mimic. And it's not something that children should be seeing. They should just be being kids. And just the last thing on that is I had a father recently talk to me, and he's just, I lost my train of thought. But parents are aware of this, and they know that they need to keep it separate from their kids. So it's just an easy thing to connect with people about, bring attention to the subjects I want to talk about. That's why I got into it.
And I've been part of that, the LGB, and I say LGB and T because it's like the and is like adding, you know what I mean? Like they're kind of like the transsexuals are like our cousins, you know what I
I
mean?
need to
But
get used to that. Yeah, that's new to me, but I do need to add the LGBT. But it's hard for a lot of everybody to understand that, and I guess that's why I go for the catchphrases I have gone for. Is
Mhm.
those are the more well known ones, but
Well, we're ever evolving and learning as we go, right? Like we're not experts on this. We're just this is our personal experience. This is, like we've gone through things in our lives that have brought us to here and have helped form our opinions. You know what I mean? It's like so how I grew up and how Steve grew up and how you grew up are all we're all gonna have a different background and a different part of that story and what brings us to where we are. And I think that that's what's really important about having these conversations is so like we can give a little bit of background and like kind of explore like like when I really started with the LGBT community, like the T wasn't really like it was talked about, but it wasn't really like prominent in it. It wasn't like everybody was like everyone knew what LGBT anti was, So I often like I tell people that, and it's evolved over time. Um, but there's some, it's definitely different than what it used to be. Pride is different than what it was even a few years ago.
drastic change.
It is a drastic change compared to what pride used to be. That pride used to be like during the day it was completely like family friendly, and it wasn't inappropriate at the pride events that I ever went to.
It's good to
um
hear.
but now it's like there is, I mean, especially with everybody having phones and all of that, like because when I first started out, like not everyone had cell phones, like like I'm maybe 43, so like when I was in my younger years, like not everybody had like a cell phone or a camera or this instant like blasting whatever it was out there. It
Yeah, I got a
wasn't.
flip phone at 16. It wasn't prevalent.
Yeah, I think I got my first phone. Like I had a pager when I was 16.
Oh, I remember pagers. You had to go to the phone booth and talk when you're at the park. You got an emergency page. Yeah,
Yes. So, like it's a different, we've evolved over time. And like I kind of like dropped out of like being so like prominent in the community, and there's other times where I was just, like in the gay community like nonstop. Like it's a very free flowing thing. There's not like a membership or like there's no
yeah.
dues. It's very loose forming.
You asked about my life, and a way to connect to this is, uh, I wasn't willing to be out front and about it, and talk about it. So I explored behind closed doors. So I
Mhm.
never joined these types of groups. I never really explored these types of groups. I just did it, where people wouldn't see. But it's just a natural and innate to me. So learning about it is cool. But throughout my life, I've noticed these changes. Obviously, I tried to date. You notice what a transsexual person was. That's what they used to call themselves back in the day. That's what it was. And then it
Yeah.
became a social contagion. And over the last however many years, 8 less, 5 less, you just notice the increase and the change in the name. And they don't even go through the medicalization anymore. Because that's what I used to understand transsexual as somebody
Yep.
that's just completely like
Yep.
consumed the life. And it's not what it is anymore. So it confuses people. I know it really confused me as an autistic person until they send you some pictures and you're like, oh, you're not. Nope. Not interested in talking to you. At least there's some people out there
Yeah.
nowadays that don't even tell you when you're on dates with them. So there's just
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
many.
Yeah, it's definitely different. Like back when, like when I first met one of my friends that is, I call them like old school, like transsexuals, like very much how like Buck Angel had transitioned that same kind of way that a friend of mine, I mean, this was, oh God, I want to say like at least 15 years ago or something like that. So it was, it was a little bit of time back. And I felt like it was a gem that I had met somebody that was transsexual. It took them years to go through, like to counseling. They had, they had counseling and therapy, and then there was a you know what I mean? There was a diagnosis from a healthcare professional for years, and
Mhm.
then they were able to get like, going to do more medicalization and all that, and they ended up like leaving the United States to go have the surgery because there's other countries that were doing it, like better than here.
Mhm.
And so like that's I always thought that that was like the process, and like, so
It's changed, but
it
that's how it should
has
be.
drastically, it's changed. I mean, I've had people on that have told me that their kids were literally like there's clinics now that are gender clinics, and I'm not against anybody making adult decisions for
Adults, yeah.
themselves, but I want them to be able to make any decision that they make informed, and you know what I mean,
Mhm.
with all of the facts, and like I feel like people deserve that. They deserve to know all of the facts around it. I'm not against trans people at all. Like I just want them to do it all in a safe way. Because I care about people, and I especially care about our kids. But yeah, I had somebody on before that told me that, the child was able to like have just Zoom meetings, and they were offering hormones like right away without like, and they didn't even want that. Like they literally were looking for some kind of counseling just to see where they were at with things. But I mean, it was just like, oh, okay, you're checking that box, you're checking that box. Okay, then that means that
Yep.
like we're just gonna put you on a fast train for this. And it's like, whoa, wait a minute, like that's what's alarming to me. It's
Yeah.
how quickly it's happening. It's the medicalization. It's not having informed consent.
Of
You
children,
know,
not of
yeah,
adults, of
and and
children.
and and I talk to people that have detransitioned, and it's heartbreaking. And I don't want to see any. I want to make sure that I just feel like as a society, we just need to slow down, take a breather, and like figure out what's happening, because if there's children that are detransitioning, like after a short amount of time, and they're stopping it in other countries, then I have complete compassion and care, and I'm like, oh well, then we should, why is this happening? But nobody wants to ask those questions, and if you ask any questions, then you're considered transphobic, and you're a turf, and you're a bigot, and you're called all these names, when you're just like, wait a minute, I just care about people. I don't want to see anybody hurt.
Yep.
And that's where it's like so alarming to me, is that people are just kind of like just going for the throat. And if you do not repeat exactly as like as you're told, if you do not do that, then you are canceled, you are attacked, you are just, I mean, it's brutal. It's really brutal. I mean,
Every
like,
time, yeah, every time that you say something like that, the WPATH will come out with a study and counter you. They have all the money and they have all the attention, and the medical community isn't willing to come out against it yet, because a few of them have found some science, pseudoscience, that they can justify doing all this stuff for, like you say, check boxes. And now that they can check these boxes, they can push it to children, and they're using stuff off label. And the easiest way to break it down to is that, and a lot of people have been pointing it out, is they want lifelong patients, and that's exactly what they're going to get. So they want to make money. They just want to check boxes, not get sued, follow the new science that's being pushed, and not get in trouble. And we need people that are brave enough to speak out about it. Hopefully
yeah.
more doctors will, because we need medical research against it. And not against it, we just need to see all sides, is more or less what I was trying to get at.
Yeah, we need to be able to talk about this when we're talking about this, or we're talking about how women's rights do matter. It's not saying that someone else's rights don't matter. It's just saying that no, women's rights also do matter. You know what I mean? Like, and it feels like, like people are getting really like confused by that, that when we're saying, you know what I mean, these rights matter, like they assume that it means that like someone else's rights have to be taken away, but that's not the case. We're not asking for anyone else's rights to be taken away. We're asking for women's rights to matter. We're asking for children's rights to matter. We're asking for transgender rights to matter for everybody, and everybody gets that same equality and that same, you know what I mean, that same treatment.
Well, I think what everybody can agree with, we want kids to be happy. We want people to be happy in their own bodies. We don't want to be pushing them to be, in any way thinking that they're not who they're born as. We don't want them questioning that. And that's where the autistic children get sucked in. We think that we're born in the wrong bodies a lot of the times. And that's our fixated thought. So really getting sucked into those types of things and that groupthink and these social contagions being pushed on us by doctors or even corporations, it makes it real hard for these children to get past it.
So there's I wanted to show this episode, part of this episode of this podcast, and we can dive into more conversation because this is I have to go back to the other tab. Hey, hold on a sec. Dr. I don't even want to say his name because he was censored big time over the C-19 stuff. All right, where is it?
Yeah, okay. I like Dr. Peter McCullough. I've been recently getting into him.
Yeah, so he was on this podcast, and I want to bring it to a certain point.
Our guest today is a great American and fellow truth seeker. He upholds the truth of the world and fights censorship. He is an internist, cardiologist, epidemiologist in Dallas, Texas, and we are so happy to welcome Dr. Peter McCullough to the show today. Hi, Dr. McCullough.
Hi, thanks so much for having me. I'm really honored to be on such a wonderful show.
Okay, I'm going to fast forward this up.
It looks like it's buffering.
Where they talk about it because it's about 9 minutes and 40 seconds. And this is Moms on a Mission. I hadn't heard of these guys before. These ladies, I say. But I saw Dr. Peter McCullough put this out that he had talked to them. So I was like, oh, well, I want to watch this. And I was like, wow, this just completely relates to our topic. And I haven't really heard him talking about this particular subject until more recently. So I thought, wow, this is a good time to, to bring some awareness to this. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to mute me after I start this, and then we'll play it through and then we can talk about it. Let me see if I can make this bigger. Can I make this bigger? There we go.
And they said this, and in the tweet, it says that this has been done now to increase neurodiversity. So there's gender diversity now. So where is all this coming from? What we know is research from the Netherlands. They've been way ahead of the United States on gender change and gender fluidity. What they've uncovered is that a large number of young people coming forward for gender change, particularly pre-puberty, have autism. Van der Meesen and colleagues reported this at the time. This is a long time ago, and recognition and diagnosis has improved. But 20%, 15 years ago, of the transgender population was clinically autistic. That means the autistic spectrum could have been 2 to 3 times greater. Then moving forward, there was a large study by Warrior and colleagues, 600,000 LGBT people. And they were assessed after the fact for autistic traits and characteristics, multiple different psychometric instruments. They were off the Richter scale for autism, off the Richter scale. Now there's been paper after paper published. The rise of autism. When I was a child, autism was 1 in 10,000. Now it's 1 in 36. The CDC on its website indicates it is a pediatric emergency. It's like the epidemic of parenting right now is to have an autistic child because it's forever. That we now understand that it is autism indeed as a seed that's driving the proclivity for gender change. So you can imagine the vignette of an autistic child or on the spectrum who's been mainstreamed, but feeling ostracized. That's a predictor. Approaching puberty, has some uncertainty, some gender ambiguity, which is common anyway, but being ostracized, maybe not being the high school cheerleader or the quarterback on the team is suggestible. And then to have a counselor or teacher or somebody else in their life suggesting maybe they should change their gender, that's how this is kicked off. And so the child comes home, starts to have a discussion, or maybe doesn't have a discussion, and starts to go down the dark pathway of gender change. So it's strongly associated with autism. And if you bring this forward, multiple states now, we'll probably get to it, have transgender legislation to try to ban transgender medicine for the youth. Do you know who's strongly opposing this legislation? The Autism Advocacy Network. So autistic people and parents and adults, they want this. They want gender change. So this is astounding.
That's actually confusing to me why you would want to do that to your own child. Yeah, and it makes me wonder who runs that organization.
Well, many of the Autism Advocacy Network members actually are adults with autism. And so, but why would they take a side on this one? I'll tell you another organization that is strongly on the side of transgenderism, the ACLU, the American Civil Liberties Union. Now, the ACLU was absent during COVID. There was all kinds of violations of civil rights, and people, were stripped of everything. Not a word from them. And suddenly on transgender, they're out, just going nuts with all these cases about inclusion. So something has snapped in the human psyche, and it's been relatively sudden. It's clearly in Gen Z. Generation Z now is kids born after 1997. That's Gen Z. And it is popping. There are some estimates of 20 to 30% of that generation LGBT. My generation is baby boomer. The percent in my generation, virtually nil. So it's an astounding change. It's a secular change. And we really need to drill into transgender medicine and have parents understand what in the world is going on.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned the mental contagion, that it's relatively new and has taken center stage within the last few years. What was the driving factor behind the extreme agenda being pushed on the entire country and specifically on American children? I know Dennis Prager in his June 6th column mentions how most of Europe isn't falling for this. And so what do you think is the driving push?
It's almost as if Europe has been through this. I mentioned the Netherlands. They had gender change programs 15 years ago. They really have published greatly on it. A lot of it is the medical outcomes, which are horrific. Recently, the British Medical Journal just last week announced that the entire United Kingdom is going to ban puberty blocking hormones. They've done absolutely a terrible job in trying to accomplish anything. Remember, the clinical diagnosis a child has that the medical community would say is the diagnosis of concern is gender dysphoria. It means a child is not happy with their gender. Well, a prepubertal child who has gender dysphoria, the cure for that is to go through normal puberty. Normal puberty not only changes the body, but it changes the mind. It actually solidifies who's a man and who's a woman. Genetically, that's set by either XX or XY, XX for woman, XY for man. But the puberty actually is what makes the brain turn into a male brain or a female brain. So
I thought that part was really interesting right there that he talked about. And I don't agree with everything that anybody says. So please, take what he's saying. And I put a link into the YouTube chat of where you can find this, and we'll put it in the show notes. But I thought that was really, really important right there to highlight that it is a large number of rising autistic children that this is happening to, and that it's the percentages that I mean they're going through the roof. And I know you've done this research yourself, and being a parent and stuff, like it just it seems like that's just that's a high amount of people for a certain generation.
Whether it's 20%, 35, which I hear, up to 50, it's a large percentage of the population when autism makes only up 2% of the population. So
Yeah.
when you can get up to 20%, up to 50%, up to however many percent, it shouldn't be more than 2. So one thing I noted from that video, and I have heard a lot of that stuff from him, and I haven't heard this video, but I've talked to people about these things he said. It's abusive to tell an autistic person they can be the opposite gender. And if I would have gone through that from a counselor, would have told me something like that, I would have absolutely went all in. But autistic kids are difficult. I read the study once when I first found out I was autistic. I'm like, oh my gosh, that makes sense why all my parents hated me. Like we're difficult. It just makes sense.
I mean, I'm
I guess let me get to my point.
neurodivergent. I'm neurodivergent too, and I think we all have like it's weird because I feel like there's just like certain there's rules that each person has that's autistic.
Mhm.
Like you have like your own like personal like rules. Like some people don't care if their food is touching even into adulthood, and some adults are like, yeah, no, I can't eat certain things. It's a texture thing. It's a this thing.
I would get yelled at.
Everybody
For that, yeah.
has like all different rules, and like Steve has to deal with me all the time because I'm freaking weirdo and I get really obsessive with like certain topics or certain things. And like they're just traits that we have, right? And I don't, and this isn't like being against anybody who's autistic either. It's just that when it's a large number of the population that what I mean, when autism is on the rise, and also this is on the rise, and they seem to be coinciding.
They do.
It's just, it makes you go, wait a minute, like, is there something happening? And if people aren't asking questions, then they're either not paying attention or they're complicit in this. And I think that we should be asking more questions. We should be able to, to openly discuss and do it with compassion and care. You know what I mean? Because that's what we're doing as parents. We want to know. We want to get to the bottom of it. We want to solve this, right? We want to know why is this happening, and then also the rest of the details that go along with that.
So I had neurotypical mother, I'm pretty sure, and she just would want to do things to please me, to make it so that I wouldn't have fits. So that's kind of what I think is going on here. A lot of these parents are pushing for stuff like this. And that's what I took note of for the video I just most recently watched, was Dr. Peter McCullough saying that these parents are pushing for this. I want to make sense of that. Why are they doing that? So they're just trying to make these kids happy so they don't yell at them all the time, so they don't have fits. Because again, we've made this our focus. We've made this our special interest. And since it's such a high percentage of people that are autistic that think they're transgender, and again, there are gender dysphoric people. You've talked about some of them, but autistic people aren't. And I may have thought I was, or, had a mild case of it, but I was really just a gender nonconformer. And nowadays, these parents are just doing whatever they can to please these neurodivergent kids, so they don't have fights with them, so that they don't have stress themselves, so they can have good days, because they have to go to work and they don't want to cry to their kids. And it's a way to please them.
I feel like I would have been a target. I've said this before on the show. I feel like I would have been a target if I was growing up in this climate right now, just because I never really fit into like the stereotype of what a female is, right? But I'm also not 100% masculine. I'm kind of like, I kind of go back and forth. Depends on my mood, the day, the time, like whatever it is. And I've always been like that since I was a kid. I was the best at making forts and having acorn fights outside. And then, I would also play with Barbies. Like it was just I've always just been a really balanced person in that way. And I'm still like that, I'm like,
You
I'm
had good parents to let you be that way, right? Yeah. Not a lot of
well,
people
I kind
do.
of, yeah. I mean, yeah. They allowed me to just, you know what I mean, to be myself, and that way, yeah. Like they weren't gonna contain me. Like I gave them a really hard time. But no, I was allowed to be, you know, like my mom used to call me her little nature girl because I was just always out in nature, just, you know, like digging up the bugs. And then, you know, I didn't want to touch them because they were gross, but I wanted to dig them up. You know, like
You're
I'm just
experiencing
always,
nature. Yeah.
yeah. So like I you know, I was just always that way, and I grew up, you know, in the 80s and into the 90s, but like that was a different time period too. Like, you know, like it was like get home before dark, you know, before the street lights are on, come home, and
You could
then
ride your bike. Yeah.
yeah, I rode my bike everywhere as a kid, and it was rough and tumble, and you know, so it was just a completely different environment than now. And then now I think a lot of the kids are just like they're so focused online all the time that they're getting their influence from people that I don't know if they always know them. But
You've been talking a lot about groupthink. I think that has a lot to do with it. These kids are trying to get along with their friends and they don't want to disagree and get yelled at or bullied. So
yeah,
they're
there's a
going
lot
along
of
with
peer
it.
pressure
Peer
that's
pressure.
happening
Sorry to interrupt you. Yeah.
along with it. Yeah. I think that's what I've heard from other parents is that entire friend groups are going to these clinics together. Like that's not okay. It's not like you're going to get your nails done. This is a bit you're entering into a large medicalized, you know what I mean, in a transition that this is life altering. And I don't think that kids are quite ready. I think you can, in hindsight, you can look back and say, you know, yeah, that kid probably did have gender dysphoria and they didn't outgrow it through puberty, but they went through the puberty. You know what I mean? Like that, if that's the solution, you know what I mean, that most people go through and they develop naturally through puberty, and then they kind of like puberty's awkward, and it's you know something that like it was never optional, you know what I mean, for me.
Yeah.
It feels
They
like
say
you're
it's,
given an
yeah.
option, you know what I mean, like do you want to go through all that? And then if kids are given something before they have puberty, if they're given blockers or cross-sex hormones, then their body parts aren't developing all the way properly, and they have a lot of complications from these medications.
Then they can't do surgery later on. And if they do, it's dangerous. So it's taking away a lot of possibilities for them just because they wanted to possibly delay something, which again is being used off label by these doctors.
Yeah,
So they need to be called out for that.
The Lupron and the cross-X hormones are they're only I believe is for precocious puberty, which means that a child gets puberty like really really young. And even those kids that has happened with, they have had some pretty major side effects. Their brain
Cancer.
development, their bones developing. You can have like issues with your liver, your kidney. Like there's a lot of stuff that can happen.
So you need these blockers.
Yeah. So like there's things that can happen if, you know what I mean, if kids go through puberty too young, you know. So I mean, like there's effects of, you know, I mean, like everything. There's going to be effects either way. You know, there's always a side effect for medications and stuff like that. And so I think it's important just to like remember that, and you know what I mean. Are the children
Informed?
Yeah, and can they make that decision? And you know, if the parents go in there, and what do the parents hear from the doctors? I've heard this over and over and over again, is that what the parents hear from the doctors is that, you know, well, if you don't do it, then you have a child that's at risk for suicide.
Would you rather have a live child or a dead child? Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, as a parent, can you imagine hearing that? Like, well, oh my gosh, oh no, of course not. I'll do whatever it takes to keep my child alive. And it doesn't mean that, like, you know, and they're just kind of like making that a normal thing? Like
It's a mind control tactic.
children want to, like, it just seems really manipulative to say that to a parent. I mean, if somebody is suicidal, doesn't matter of how they feel, I would think that they would need counseling and therapy. I mean, that's the first thing I would suggest.
Yeah, they, like I said, there was a 2011 study that showed that the transsexual community actually was at a higher risk for suicidality, and I have it on my page somewhere. But again, and a year later, the WPATH had a completed study countering that, so that the doctors could cite it and say that no, this is false. So like we have to figure out why these studies are made, and it doesn't, just because they can say that, and there's a couple studies that the doctors can cite, it doesn't mean that they should look at the previous ones, the previous DSMs, try and figure out and do research. You gave me a couple opportunities to bring up Dr. Jordan B. Peterson, and listening to his 2-hour-long shows. He did one with Chloe Cole. He does a lot of ones with doctors, but he talked about the medical community running off the doctor that studied this, the leading, he's in Canada, I believe. He was the leading transgender scientist, researcher, and not just doctor. So he's the one that knew all about this. And because he knew puberty was the way that you get out of it, that you grow out of it generally, most, like at least 88% of the people, if not more, grew out of it with puberty. He knew this, and he was shunned, silenced, kicked out of the community. Apparently,
Wow.
if I remember right, he got his license back, but he still got vindicated. He got vindicated, but he got, abused by the medical community. And why would you want to work in a community like that? So they defeated him in a way. So,
yeah, but like at that point, the damage is already done, right? Like once they've vilified somebody and they've made somebody, like once they've done that to you, like it's really hard to recover and to come, come out of that. Because even if it's like a smear can be worse than the actual, like, than anything. Like if somebody,
you have to fight harder to get your name back, and not a lot of people are willing to do it. It's hard work. And I think the doctor was tired. He's like, I'm done. They've beat me.
And I'll just disclose that we have listened to Jordan Peterson, and I think some of the stuff that he talks about is absolutely out there. Like
it is.
And some of it is, and some of it I'm like, God, that makes sense. But other times I'm like, man, this guy is out there, but that's okay.
I'm out there.
I like having conversations with people from all different backgrounds, and all different walks of life, and different experiences. That's interesting to me. I don't want an echo chamber. I don't.
Well,
it's just not what we do.
I didn't bring him up to be I guess causing issues. I didn't bring him up to do that. I'm just talking because it's.
Oh no, you're fine. You're fine.
I'm just talking to people around there, like. It stinks that we have to say that, because we should just be able to talk, debate, and have discussion.
I know. Isn't it weird? Like when you have to think about like saying,
not offending people.
I'm not trying to offend anybody. Like, let me clarify this again, because and that comes from people that have been absolutely brutal and coming at me. But I've also gotten a lot more support actually than I have the people that have been brutal. So it balances out, and there's a lot of people that come to me privately and agree with me and are like, thank you for speaking out. I've been feeling like this for a while, but I didn't know how to articulate it, or I didn't know how to say it, or, and people mull over things for a while. And it's really hard in this climate to say anything that is even remotely outside of what the echo chamber is saying. And that's the thing, is that at the beginning of everything, I used to always just be like, of course I support this, and I support, trans people. And of course that I still do. But the thing is that something is happening, and there's questions that I have, and trying to figure all that out. And the process of it, it's like, it's like you have to, it's like people just, they are like, no, you have to be able to just, it's all or nothing. And it's like, no, there's parts of this that I can't back it. I
Well,
can't
if people
back
aren't willing to be
kids.
called out, then yeah, you should be able to call people out and say things that are obvious and listen. You can't. Yeah, sorry to interrupt you, but you can't back the kids being what? Sorry, I was reading the chat. Kind of distracting.
Yeah, it's just it's not like, you know, there's a lot of nuance that's not happening in these conversations. There's a lot of people that are being left out and that aren't, you know what I mean, contributing to these conversations. So I think it's important to try to get everybody's, you know, see where everybody's kind of at. Like, we have to do that as a society. We have to learn how to talk to each other. We have to talk to people that are like as far away from us politically as you know what I mean, as like, you know, the opposite, the complete yin and yang of our, you know, political views, because how else do we see where we do meet up and where we do agree and where we do come together?
I don't disagree with you. I'm willing to talk to anybody, and I don't look at it as that. Maybe that's the autism in me, like not willing to contribute to social stereotypes, but or fall for them. Like I'm willing to talk to anybody about anything, hear anything, and find out why. I like to know why things happen, and
Yeah,
willing to discuss.
yeah. I feel like we're like little kids, like, wait, but why? But why? And the parents are like, no, we're not answering that. And we're like, wait a minute, I'm trying to understand. And like you know, like, people need to understand that people aren't just gonna like adapt and just get everything just like overnight either. There's a learning curve to this. There's a lot of learning and understanding, and just calling out names and blocking people and, you know what I mean, like attacking, like
Blind obedience.
it's blind obedience.
I'm not willing to do that. Yeah.
You know, they can't stop saying the thing. Like, if you challenge somebody with a different perspective, you're transphobic, or you're a TERF, or you're a this, or you're a that, whatever the label is.
And they don't mean anything anymore.
And they don't have any meaning behind them at all.
Well, they don't have any intelligence to talk and actually
Right.
engage.
Right. It's completely like the point of engagement is lost on these people. Like the people who just like block you and scream and put their fingers in their ears, they don't, you know what I mean? Like they don't understand the nuance in this conversation. Like, here's an example. How can you have a non-binary lesbian person? Those
It's probably
two
a
things
man,
contradict each other.
Well, no, because like
Yeah,
lesbian
non-binary,
itself is binary. It's a woman that loves a woman, so of course that's binary.
That is
Well, now it's a non-man.
Yeah, no, it's not a non-man. No,
That's what the federal government says. I know it's not a non-man.
I know, you know, but like,
it's just ridiculous though. Like just that concept is like the essence of how fucking crazy this conversation gets with people, and how the pretzel logic that they need to be able to try to counter the simple, you know, unconflated facts that you put before them. They're like, well, no, because this, and then like, no, you're just hateful. You're just hateful.
it's not logical to me.
It's not like an actual.
You make me think of that guy from the UK. I think it is. He just doesn't care. He's an old guy. He owns a shop. He doesn't care anymore. He's not going to call you a male if you're a female. He's not going to call you a female if you're a male. We just need more people like that are just not going to.
I just think it's irrelevant. Like, who gives a fuck? I don't give a fuck.
Yeah, who cares? That was what I was getting at.
That's
who cares?
really what it is. Fundamentally, is like, I don't care how people dress. I don't care if you're a dude with a fucking beard and a skirt and a fucking thong. I don't give a fuck. If you want to use the fucking men's room, it's right there. Don't go in the ladies' room and flash your fucking junk around, because then we'll have a problem. But if you're just like an unassuming person just trying to use the facility or something, who gives a fuck, man?
I had an ex of mine that would like steal my really long skirts and wear them. Like, I'm not, you know, I used to help my friends that were very closeted, like that they like to cross dress, and I would help them. I would take them shopping. I would do their makeup, and I would, you know what I mean? I would help them do that stuff. Like, I'm not phobic of any of these people. I've helped put on drag king shows with adults.
Cool. It freaks me out.
You know what I mean? Like, adults.
People care so much that they they have to protect those people so much that they're going to just echo the thing that they think is the appropriate response instead of actually understanding the nuance that you're trying to express.
The group think, and they want to just be inclusive. They say it's not hateful. I think we were talking about the paradox of this recent paradox of tolerance. Like they just fall for it, and they think they're the hateful ones while calling us the hateful ones. So
yeah, I had somebody block me last night on Twitter for saying that men can't breastfeed. I'm not.
Men can, but it's disgusting. And
it's not natural. Usually it means that something has happened, like they have like a tumor or something on the pituitary gland or something like that, or there are or there is some kind of intervention that is making it happen, right? And so I like I've come up with a thing. I'm gonna I'll tell you about it after. But yeah, like so like, you know, people like telling me like, no, but they can, and it's happened this handful of times. It's like, yeah, but that's not the norm to say that. Go say that to a stranger on the street and tell me what they think.
They're not willing.
Go ask them.
Yeah.
I mean, really, there's like, it's like, yes, there has been a couple documented cases where men have been able to do it. And it's usually because there was a tumor or, I covered this before where there was people that were starving. It can cause your body to like do that because you're starving. I don't know exactly why. But it triggers something, and it's happened to like people that were prisoners of war, and because they were starved, the men started to, you know, like because the thing is that during puberty for women, what happens is our milk ducts and all those glands, that during that time men have them, but during that time is when they actually develop because it's the natural hormones that we have in our bodies, that our bodies regulate ourselves. So I mean, like, it's like, yeah, they can like actually do it, but like, you know, like, what are they producing? You know what I mean? Like, so if you are a biological male and you take, now when you take cross-sex hormones, you have to take about 3 to 4 times the amount is typically what it is, because you're overriding your own body's like amount of hormones. Like, you know what I mean? Like if I was to take like a testosterone, then I would have to take enough that it would counteract and like overdrive all of my natural hormones, right? So in taking that's why like a lot of the people that transition, that take the females that take the testosterone, they end up with like the hair loss, and they end up with like, you know, like the acne and all these things that happen because of side effects, because of, you know, I mean, it's the amount of it too, and you're overriding your own system already producing, you know what I mean? So yeah, it's a lot.
You know how receptors work, they're trying to get those ones to attach faster. So they're hoping to overflow the system and get the receptors to attach to the ones they want.
Yeah, and then so at the same time, like if a male is taking, you know what I mean, female, you know, hormones, then it's going to do that same thing, and it can trigger, you know what I mean, the glands and everything to develop it, and it's a side effect of a medication. It's not a natural thing that a man is breastfeeding. And that was what my point was, is that no, it's not a natural, even though there are occasions of you know, I mean, of this happening, and some of them are just really not well documented. People want to argue with me over like, well, they didn't have hormones back then and blah blah blah. Yeah, but it's very like they found there was cases where it was because the male had a tumor on his pituitary gland or had some kind of issue, or there was starvation. You know, like there's reasons why it happens and it triggers it, but it's not a normal thing. It's more abnormal. You know, like
the thing that draws to my mind is that song. I think his name's from Samson. He's like, this is gross. Like, yeah, no, we can't be thinking that that's acceptable.
I mean, you've had kids, so like, do you remember how much of a limit was there for your wife? Like, you know, on the food that she could eat, the medications that she could take.
Oh, sure.
Like everything, right? Like, I mean, you can't eat.
Stuff
it's like
she needed.
You can't eat shellfish. You can't eat lunch meats. You can't do this. You can't take any of these medications. You can't take herbs. You can't I mean, it was like you can take your prenatal, and like there was a small list of things that you could take. So I mean, and then also like breastfeeding, if she did, I don't know, we don't have to divulge that, but I breastfed for 2.5 years. So like there was a lot of things that I had to stay away from because it goes through the milk. And so, I was really careful.
The bloodstream.
Yeah. I had a herniated disc in my back, and like previous to my pregnancy, I took pain medications and I needed back surgery in that meantime, but I didn't take them because when I was breastfeeding, I couldn't. I knew that it could pass on through the milk. So like I couldn't take, like medications and things like that. So if somebody is pumping their body full of hormones that are synthetic to their body, and they're overriding their system with that, and that happens, what is the what a health effect is that to the baby? That's where I'm concerned. I'm not really concerned about the affirming of the adult. I'm more concerned of, I don't know what's being passed through to that child, and is that even something that should be on anybody's radar? Because there's women that can't breastfeed.
It's amazing what they would allow now, but they wouldn't allow back in the day. Like you would lose your kid if they showed up with meth or cocaine or anything on their system, like you say, opioids. And now they're just like letting them take this. I'm sure they're on government benefits or something too, doing this horrible behavior. Just as a joke.
I don't know. I don't know if it has anything to do with that, or
I was being sarcastic.
But yeah, okay.
These people don't know what they're doing. They're taking advantage of a medical system. The medical system's letting them do it for some weird reason that I don't understand. And they should be calling them out and maybe even taking these children away from them, because that's not cool.
Yeah, as a parent, as a mom, as somebody who, was told I can't do all these things while I'm breastfeeding and all this, and then to see, like men doing it that are, I worry about the children. That's always like my concern is, like, first off, that stuff could already be shutting down your liver. So what are you passing on to the child? And like our bodies make those hormones naturally when we're breastfeeding and stuff. Like our bodies produce that. So, it's
it's not
the human body is pretty amazing. You know what I mean? The human body is very resilient, and it's pretty amazing what we do, and like what we go through. And
but when you're so young, that child, you say that child's vulnerable, and probably not the best time to be giving them anything that could possibly harm their system. I remember not being able to give my child a certain food, like new food every couple of weeks, just in case they have an allergy. So we have to be really careful what we give our kids. So I absolutely agree.
And that's where I have the caution more so. Is just like, what is the long-term effects of this, and who would even, who would even put their child up for study on that? You know what I mean? Like, oh, let's see if this harms my child. Like,
like you said, they're affirming the adults. They're like, oh yeah, you can do that. Do whatever you want.
They're not. It's not because it's beneficial to the child.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
They got their priorities in whack, and I don't understand it. Like you say, it doesn't make sense.
It really doesn't. And right now it seems, I covered the Let Women Speak on Sunday show, and there's women in Australia saying the same exact things that that we're talking about, and speaking out against it, and speaking for women's rights, because women deserve to have women's spaces. We do deserve that, and that doesn't mean
safe
that
spaces.
It doesn't.
Not some perverts in there.
Yeah, and that doesn't mean that someone else doesn't deserve also their own safe space, but it just means that we also we fought for these rights to have these safe spaces and to have same-sex spaces, and we deserve to be able to continue to have that. If we need to adjust in society so that we can make other people have a safe place, then we need to do that, but we don't need to take it away from somebody else. That's the thing.
Mm-hmm. one of my wild theories is that we've got a bunch of autistic men or grown people that are pushing this, and they're trying to get back at society. So they know that you're not going to question them being in the bathroom, and they're pushing the limits. So
It could
they
be.
know what they're doing.
I don't
and
even
they're
know. I don't even know how
Well,
to speculate with that one.
I think Peter McCullough talked about that a little bit. I thought, at least, but I guess we can move on from it. But these people are pushing the limits. They want to see how you're going to react, and if you challenge them, they want to be able to argue with you and tell you that you are the problem. At least that's what I've seen.
Yeah, I had somebody I don't know if you saw this on Twitter. It's just crazy because Twitter is not reality. It's really not. And if you if you go on there, it's like it feels like you're stepping into a different dimension. Because I referred to somebody as I was talking to somebody else and I said they. I'm like, yeah, they, blah, 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 or whatever. Like, I wasn't talking at them. Like, I wouldn't use the word they at somebody. You know what I mean? At somebody. But it's a secondary pronoun, and it's a gender neutral pronoun. That's just what they or them. If you know what I mean? I'm like, I saw them walking down the street. You know what I mean? Or yeah, they came over here or whatever. And it's a non-binary term, meaning that it's not binary to either she or he. And I got told that I was misgendering the person because they go by he. And I said, yeah, but they has always been a gender neutral pronoun. I can't misgender somebody if I'm using something that is gender neutral. And they said, no, but I use he and you owe me an apology. And I'm just like, this doesn't make sense to me. Like, it's not logical. That's not the way that you get to talk to people. You don't get to demand that other people call you a certain thing, like I don't understand. And then they turned her right around and went and attacked somebody else and were like trying to misgender them on purpose. A friend of mine that was in the chat, and he's just like, all right, well, whatever. I know who I am. Like, it's not like, I don't care. You know what I mean? Because it's like their ego is so fragile, or their affirmation is so fragile that they then turn into the bully doing the thing that they're accusing you of doing that you're not doing. Like,
a lot of people are projecting. Yeah. Like, they feel it internally. And once you don't behave the way that they want you to behave, then they lash out at you. That's what I was kind of getting at. These people like to lash out at you. So that's what they're looking for, is fights and arguments. And I'm kind of learning not to give it to them, because it's really not worth fighting with people. I think I remember that conversation that person was a lesbian boy. Yeah, I think that was their username.
Oh yeah, that's what they said. And I just didn't even address it. Like, I just was like, okay, it says you're a lesbian boy, and I'm like, and
this isn't a person that we need to be affirming, because they're not really taking people seriously. They're not respecting people.
No, they're like making up the rules as they go. And it doesn't make any sense. And if you go out into the common world, anywhere, you know what I mean? Anywhere, and like, I know at least within the United States, and you start talking about some of this stuff with people, they have no idea what we're talking about. This isn't the language of the everyday average person. I would be surprised if I was in like a store, retail chain store or grocery store, and overheard someone speaking this way, because it's not in the vocabulary of most people. They don't really even know what it is, but they're like, yeah, we support these rights, and of course we want everybody to have the same rights. So they say that they support things blanket, the blanket statement, but they don't really know the ins and outs and the details that that we've uncovered with our research. And so they hear us say anything that is like what they perceive as against, the community, then they think that we're, we are then instantly labeled as all kinds of names. it's like guaranteed. You know that if you say a certain things that they're gonna like come after you, even if you're not saying it in a hurtful way. It
Well, they
doesn't
don't want to
matter.
actually have discussion. They want to force their opinions on you. I think one thing that I wanted to bring up was I learned recently that 1 in 5 people, so 20% of people that know somebody that identifies as transgender. So that means either they have a cousin, a friend. So they want to be nice to these people. They don't want to cause them issues because, again, the
And
doctors
I
have
have
told them.
several. I have several people. I have transsexual. I actually, the people that I personally know are all that I have met in person, and that I've, and, like one of my best friends, and people that I've, like back, 15 years ago, people that I've known, and they've always been actually transsexual people. I don't know anybody that just identifies as transgender because it's different.
It's new.
Yeah, that is a newer terminology. So a transsexual is somebody that has sought an actual medical diagnosis, and they get one for gender dysphoria, which is in the DSM-5, the Diagnostic Statistical Manual. Like, it's basically the handbook for psychology, and it's in there. And everyone that I've talked to that is transsexual will tell me, yeah, I can acknowledge that what my original biology is. And some of them don't like to talk about it because it's hard for them because it's very dysphoric to talk about. Well, other people openly talk about it. But yeah, and then there's transgender, which can be a self-identifying,
It now
and
is.
and that's why we call it an ideology, is because it's a self ID, it's a self belief. Just like, you could have different political ideologies. You can be more to the left, like idealistically. You can be liberal. You can be center. You can be to the right. More conservative. Like wherever you, you know what I mean. Like where you kind of lay yourself down, and like, to each their own to identify themselves in their own ideology. It's the same thing with the transgender ideology, because it's not necessarily a medical diagnosis, but you can get medical treatment for it. So like it can get confusing, and you have to be really clear with the language, because like there's so many different definitions. There are so many ways to express the same exact thing. And then it's like, if you say something and like you missay it, it's like the pack of wolves come at you. It's like you got to be on your toes and not make any mistakes, because like you're in a pond of piranhas waiting to come at you.
If you bring anything up, you better know everything, because they will say you don't know what you're talking about. You're phobic. You're fearful. Yeah, I agree with that.
And it makes it a really difficult, area to kind of like be like, well, I'm trying to explore and understand this more. I'm trying to have nuanced conversations about this. I'm not trying to offend anybody. Like I personally have a transsexual as a best friend. I was in his wedding as the best man, and I wore a dress. And so, like there's no phobia here. Like, it's not about that, but it is about keeping the sexualization and all these other aspects that we're seeing, like, away from kids. Like the pride events, like, you're part of LGB, so like, what was your opinion
I'll say
on
too.
anti? Yes.
Yeah.
So you're part of the LGBT community, so as well. So what were your feelings about Pride Month?
Well, I just learned it's now Pride Summer.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Yeah.
No, I can't deal with it.
I don't want to have to, but it'll give us more opportunity to bring attention to the topic. So I don't know if they should have done that. I don't know if that was wise.
I know, right? Put it on all of our radar. I'm like, oh my gosh, I saw videos of men in underwear twerking at Pride events.
Pride Century.
Oh gosh, no, Wes, no.
Pretty fun. Yeah, no, my feelings on it, and I think I brought it up earlier, is adults can be adults. I explored. We're talking about personal stuff there. Like, I definitely think that we should be able to figure out what we're into, especially as adults. But letting children and kids in school should maybe learn stuff with their friends, among their friends, and their friends shouldn't be at these clubs or learning stuff about these clubs. They should exploring, not adults should be exploring adult stuff, I guess, is what I'll keep my point to. And and what again caught my interest with the Bud Light story was they were letting children in, and these people were really mad.
Yeah, was it at a bar? Like, can you like set up the you know, the context of the place, the facility itself, and what was going on? Because this is what triggered me to reach out to you, is that you were going to cover this event.
Yeah, no, it's like obviously my first investigative story, because I got scooped by Fox. I got an email list from somebody that gave me the list for all the Fox conservatives and everybody. So I'll email anybody information. If you want to give me the Democrat list, I'll take it. But I gave them a story, and they took it from me, and they posted it without giving me credit. And I could definitely prove it. But so I
saw it in real time happening, because we were in conversation about it, like while you were doing that.
So we at least got the information out. That's what I came to the realization of email. I'm like, oh, I can do this. And if I ever want something to really get out there, I could email it to these people. So next time I won't try to seek anything other than getting attention, but to the cause. So I decided to just investigate it myself. I'm like, well, they're not going to do it for me. They're not going to help me. They're not going to be a part of it. So I'm just going to go do it. That's what got me into being a citizen journalist. That's what you labeled it. And I actually like that. So, I decided to go to the event myself because.
And where was it? How far is it?
It was in Flagstaff, Arizona. People always told me it's 4 hours, but it's less than 3 hours apparently. Nice. So I was able to get there a little early and scoped out the area like anybody would, to make sure I knew where possible corners were, dangers, and I just like to be prepared. So I actually even talked to a couple event planners right before they had a run. I didn't know about that, but I was able to hold my sign, and all the runners going by could see it. So I went to Flagstaff. I showed up, talked to the event organizers, just walked around the city of Flagstaff for a little while, and the first person that wasn't an event or a runner walked by me was the Orpheum Theater worker. And she must be 20 years old, going to NAU, I'd imagine, if I had to take a guess on it. And she flipped me off. And I didn't know why. I don't care. I'm there to talk to people, and investigate and figure out what's going on.
That's the nuance. That's a perfect example of the nuance that's allowed in this conversation with people.
Yeah, so it made sense to me that she flipped me off after, because again, I walked the city and I saw her, and as soon as I saw her at the front of the theater, I'm a person that doesn't care what people think about me. So I'm not yelling, but I'm talking to them. I'm like, oh, hey everybody, I'll be at the show tonight, and I'll see you guys there. And then that's what inspired her to walk over to me. And she's like, what's your name? Because she apparently wanted to find out so she could get my tickets removed. So me even telling her my name was Josh was too far. That's what got me.
She got your ticket. She asked your name so that she could get your tickets removed.
Yeah, she was the one that did it, because nobody else knew my name, and they knew my name when I showed up to the event. So they had done the research by that point and had banned me. So they had figured out my last name.
So they figured out your name and then said you can't come in this event because you hold views that are opposing ours to a public event.
They didn't even tell me why. I asked, and it's on video. I'm like, so why are you banning me? Because like if you're telling me that I just can't be allowed in, and you're not going to give me a reason, I'll go in. And I didn't understand that it was a private event, and the police explained it to me. But they don't have to give me a reason, I learned. So that was my first time doing it. I paid for a private event to go to a private thing that they can allow anybody they want in. And that's what I'd imagine. I'd imagine it's because I was going to take pictures and not push my message, but talk to people about what I'm interested in and things that I believe in. So they
So
didn't
you
want that.
scared them for whatever reason. They were actually phobic of you.
Mhm.
And they probably thought you were gonna, like in their minds, who knows? We can, wildly assume, you know what I mean, like what they possibly could have had going on in their minds. But the fact is that they silenced you before you even had an opportunity to show them that you weren't going in there to, like, you know what I mean, hurt anybody or do anything. Like
Well,
that's just
I learned how to do these events because I showed up on my bike and I was ready to, in case anybody attacked me, I was ready to make a quick escape, run to my bike and get out of there. But I show up and I talk to the security first, not even the event people. I talked to the security. I'm like, hey, so what are the rules on re-entry? Because they wouldn't post them online. And before I went in and started protesting immediately, I wanted to know the rules because I want to follow the rules. And nobody would tell me. Nobody. Everyone's saying, go talk to this person. Go talk to this person. So apparently the fact that I even showed myself and asked questions is also another thing that I'm not going to do in the future if I want to investigate and I want to do stuff. So I learned that they will target you and be phobic of you, even though you want to follow the rules and you want to just see what's going on.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's ridiculous that they like deny you entry to even go in there. Like,
I just got the refund yesterday, so they did refund.
they gave you your money back at least.
So they definitely know my name. I hope they don't dox me, but they have the power now. So
Well, I would hope not. I hope
yeah.
not. Because that's messed up. Like,
I'm learning from this because I didn't know all these things, and I'd happily tell people that if you want to go in and actually get awareness and find out what's going on, to go in not in your outfit. don't go in trying to talk to people. Don't show what you're going to do because they won't allow it if they don't agree with it.
Yes, that makes sense. That makes sense. That I mean, you have to like it. Jeez.
I want to be effective. So that's what I told the cops in the video. I'm like, oh, so maybe don't broadcast myself so much next time. Go in a little sneak here. And they're like, I didn't say that. I'm like, yeah, you did. I learned from this.
Yeah. See, well, they're the thing is that, being somebody who's neurodivergent too, I think that a lot of times that, like, we don't always have filters and our truth just comes out, right? Like, we're just like, we'll tell you what we intend and how we feel about something, and we're not going to lie to you because we just don't, right? Like, so it can get us in trouble, and sometimes we have to, we live and we learn, and it was your first time, so now you're like, okay, now next time I know. Maybe keep it a little bit more low key until
you're not exactly expecting people to be so hateful, because I wasn't going to be hateful. I was just going to be there talking, asking questions, getting pictures, figuring out what's going on. That was my intention, seeing how many children were exposed to naked men or possible naked men, because that's what you're seeing around. I just wanted to investigate, catalog, see what's happening. And I even got attacked by community for even just taking pictures. I wouldn't need to go into details because I don't want to give them light of day, but
I know, but that was crazy. I saw that and I was like, kind of like, wait a minute. Now, everybody knows, like, that's why I say, like, you're a citizen journalist. You're not there being a creeper trying to take pictures of, women's skirts or something. Like, that's not what you're doing. You're there taking pictures in a public setting at a public event.
They don't want to be exposed.
That's perfectly normal for a journalist or somebody that's at an event to do. Like,
even an activist,
like we don't have any sense. Like, people have this like illusion that we have privacy, and we actually don't. We, like, if you look at your phone, you know what I mean, like, we are under constant surveillance, right? Like, on our computers, on our phones, like, we don't have privacy anymore. And especially when you leave your house, there is no, you cannot, like, there's no implied privacy being out in public.
When I drove home, I saw like 2 of those major cameras that do face detection. Like, I'm like, hello, like, they know I'm back in town. Like, that's
yeah. And then that's the thing, is that, like, people care about the cameras they can see, but they don't really care about the ones that they don't see. Do you hear people complaining like, oh my God, this store has me under all this surveillance. They're taking a picture while I pick my wedgie, or you know what I mean? Like people aren't thinking about that because it's just like, it's normal. But then if somebody that is a private citizen is like, yeah, I want to just, take pictures of what's happening and document it and be a citizen journalist. And, and you can take regard to like blurring out kids' faces or doing, things like that.
But not everybody does. It's not like and then you talk about neurodivergent. I don't have to. I could, but you shouldn't take your kid there. So there's a whole bunch of talk we could have about it. I'm willing to talk.
It's a First Amendment. It's a First Amendment right to be able to take pictures in public. That's there's no
intent matters, like you said, and that's definitely not the intent. The intent is to bring awareness.
Yeah, you're not like they're like, oh, I'm just targeting getting pictures of just children or something. You know what I mean? Like you're not.
Yeah, there's no reason to even give them light about that because it's just crazy. Like they're just trying to bring like crazy.
They're trying to shame you. They're trying to shame you from doing something that as a citizen journalist.
I know that's not what I'm doing.
Yeah, exactly. You don't feel shame because you don't have that intention of doing something that's shameful. You know what I mean? Your intention is to catalog and to, just it's a reference. That's all it is. You're just making a reference. And
I'm smart enough to follow the rules, follow the laws, and I'm willing to put myself in that situation. So I kind of talked about my following about that, but I'm willing to have these discussions, have these talks, have these people target me. I'm willing to do it because I don't know. I just have felt the calling to do it. I guess is a good answer.
I think it's awesome. I think it's really important what you're doing. So you have some of your signs that you had with you behind you, right? That's one of your signs?
I like to present stuff.
I like that you do that. I think it's really good. It's well made. People can take pictures. They can, so they don't have a long time to talk with you. They can take a picture and then they have a way to reach out to you on social media if they want to follow up with you. I think that's really it's a great thing to do. I'm always telling people to talk to your neighbors, like talk to your neighbors, talk to your friends, talk to people about what's happening. Like, kind of see what the temperature of things are for people offline, So I do that often. I love talking to people and figuring out, where their heads at with different things and stuff like that. I think it's fun.
One thing I really like about being able to do this is, and I'm sure autistic people watching this now or later will relate, is I like to have the same conversations over and over and over and over again. So being able to recite the same information that I know, that I believe, that it's true, have discussions. This is a safe subject for me. And now talking about something else, I might have an anxiety attack. I might panic. So that's why I'm definitely, even though I'm neurodivergent and autistic, willing to go out and talk, because I don't think anybody can tell me something that I'm not prepared for on this subject.
Because you've done the homework. You've done the research, you've done your homework, you've set yourself up for success and to be able to answer the questions.
Or at least talk and learn. Like, hey, I didn't know something, tell me.
Yeah. You feel confident enough to interact on this subject matter because you've put the work in to know the subject, and you're still open to learning more, which I think that's really, really important. Is that I feel like sometimes people will dive into something and learn something, and then they just stop.
They're experts.
Yeah, and like that, and then that's it. And then there's just no okay, I need to evolve my thinking on this, or I need to, question myself on this. Am I right about this? Is this, and I like having those kind of conversations with people because then I can kind of see their perspective and I can compare it to mine and I think about it and I process it and I'm like, okay. And then I'll talk to people about it and then I'll see. And then I don't always take a firm stance on something.
Critical thinking is the way we would describe that. It's having multiple opinions, thoughts, being able to dissect it and figure out why, who, what, where, when, why, understand the thought fully more than just accepting it.
Yeah. I like to look at it from every angle, even the opposite of what my opinion is. That's always really important. I feel like I always try to look at things like, okay, well, if I feel this way and you feel that way, well, let me look and see all the different angles that I can possibly look at this, like, and see where
And
that kind
another
of
way to
leads
tie
me.
this to autism here, not to take over, but before I forget, we can we try. Oh wow, I lost myself. Oh, that's why
It's
I try to
okay.
take over sometimes. I
Oh,
lost
you're
my train of
fine.
thought.
You're fine. Take a
Sorry.
breath. I'm sure it will come right back to you.
Yeah, I try to relate to people was the kind of the connection, and it's not going to come back to me. I've done this to myself multiple times. I know it's not going to come back. We can probably go on to something that you said, and I'm sorry for interrupting.
No,
I've done that
you're
to people many
fine.
times.
You're fine. No need to be as sorry about it
Yeah.
at all. You were saying it was something
It's
about
about interacting inappropriately with people. It's just like we have to learn how to do it. Uh, it's it's hard to do it. It's difficult, but we need to figure out how to do it and challenge ourselves. It was something along those lines. It was based on your talk, and again that thought gone. Apologize for the 15
it
viewers.
happens to me too. It happens to me
Yeah.
too. You'll see me like I'm like, oh shit, I don't know where I was going with that.
can't take
I'm like, I'll
this.
just stop. It
Yeah.
happens.
And I interrupted you to make it worse. But no, just talking about the personal story about why I wrote notes down about why I would possibly be tricked into thinking I'm transgender. Enjoying this conversation. Hello, Devin.
Devin is
Hopefully
a
it's not too
sweetheart.
boring. Yes, recently met Devin. I just wasn't when I talking about getting used to relationships and friendships. My dad tried to force me down a certain path because that's his views, and that's what parents are doing nowadays. But I'm not that person that he wanted me to be. I'm not the sports. I did athletics, and I'm a very athletic person, and he just couldn't believe that I wouldn't take advantage of that. I would always be the type of person that just wanted to hide in the corner, get the day over with, go research, not engage with people. But he would force me to engage with people. But I didn't socialize all that well, and I didn't get along with people that I tried. So when I moved to a new school. I had a new stepmom. I was in 6th grade. I had a whole new set of friends, and this is the first time in my life I ever actually really tried to socialize with people. And it doesn't go well, and it didn't go well for me. But I didn't get along with the girls. I asked one out, and she just laughed at me. Because again, I was the weird kid, the new kid, and I just didn't know how to talk to people. And I would talk to the boys, and I would only get along with the boys, but I wouldn't be able to tell my dad because I knew what his thoughts were. He had broadcast his thoughts to me, and I knew if I said something out against possibly liking the boys, that would be bad. But about 6th, 7th grade is when I started, exploring with boys. And that's my personal story because it was behind closed doors. When I went and hang out with my friends, when he forced me to go hang out with these boys because they were athletic too. He was friends with their dads, and that's just what kids do. But yeah. I was afraid to admit to my father these things. So again, I would try to be more manly. I would try to I would not show that publicly. I would only do things privately. Let's see.
I feel like we should as parents, like, and our generations have definitely changed from, that time. I know what you're talking about because I had to kind of hide that same kind of stuff in my own upbringing. And so I totally get what you're saying, and I totally lost where I thought was. So go ahead.
Oh no, it's all good. And just trying to figure out who I am was a big thing for me because I have all these voices, my family telling me who I should be, and I don't agree with it. I'm a
lots of influence.
I always was a lot of influencers, and that's where I know these kids are vulnerable because I know I was. But and again, I'm high functioning, so I didn't even find out I was autistic for a long time until a little over a year ago. But we try to fit in. We look for ways to fit in, and it leads us down these dark paths, trying to fit in. I wrote stuff down. Sorry. So behind closed doors, instead of being able to actually talk to my family, I dressed like a woman behind closed doors. I would, and I kind of want to admit this, it's way past possible statute of limitations, but I was afraid to buy clothes in front of people because my dad knows everybody. He owns a business in Arizona. He knows everybody. And if they would have seen me buying lingerie, women's clothes without having a girlfriend, they would have told him. So the stigma of possibly being caught. So I actually owned a carpet cleaning company too. And I would steal women's clothes so that I wouldn't.
Oh my God. That is not okay.
It's not okay. I was 20.
I'm laughing, but
I'm not gonna get in trouble for it now. But I didn't want my dad to find out. I didn't want my dad to know this about me.
Yeah, and so see, that's not okay. What he did to you, you know what I mean? Like him in pushing his own views on you. You know what I mean? It was a cause and reaction. I know. I'm just like, oh my gosh. Can you imagine like coming home and you're like, wait, where did that go? What are these women thinking? I'm just thinking about the women, like, you know, they go in their drawer or something, and
don't blame my dad.
It's not there anymore.
I would have bought them.
Oh my God!
If it didn't feel like I would have been called out and made fun of and ostracized even further. And I'm not afraid of admitting it because I was learned from it, and obviously it's not something I do now. But it was something that I was afraid of admitting socially. And imagine what these other people who aren't high functioning, who are doing things that they're afraid of, that they're feeling like because their friends are making fun of them that they have to go out and do these things. I fear for what the vulnerable kids are going to do, and I know what I did. and autistic people don't mature at the same rate as people. Like we get our quirks differently. Like we mimic people, is I guess the best way I could say it. And we don't exactly know how to behave. So it takes us longer, and at least it took me longer to figure out how to exactly adapt to society. And the fact that I did that at 19, 20 doesn't make me feel shame. I still feel like I was a kid in a way, you know, like I was still young.
Yeah, your brain, your brain wasn't fully developed. I mean, I think, you know, we can acknowledge that, you know, we've all probably done things in the past that, you know, I mean, we aren't, you know, like proud of, but it's an honest thing that happened. So, I mean, it does show that, you know, I mean, you recognize that that's something that isn't okay, you know, now, and also like you can like give a little bit of that context of how, you know what I mean, and it was so ingrained into you that you felt like that was your extreme that you had to do, you know what I mean? So like, not to excuse it,
I don't excuse it,
but to say, you know what I mean, to say, you know, like it to be able to say it though, I appreciate the honesty over it.
Well, there's a reason why that people do stuff like that, and it made sense. That's why I did it, and I'm not afraid. Like I talk to my customers, I know their names, sadly, because it's a bad thing you've done to somebody, like you said, like where'd my clothes go? So I actually do sadly remember their names, and if they ever came after me, I would have been like, yeah, I did it, but they didn't. So I would apologize to them still. You know, I'd even pay him back, but you know, I was a young kid trying to figure it out. So, but yeah, the exploring should be natural. It should be something that we're not afraid of doing, I guess, was the main point of even bringing it up.
Yeah, without retaliation. Yeah, you shouldn't have been afraid of your father with retaliating against you.
Boys, exploring with women's clothes, thinking that just because people told me I was feminine, that maybe I should just try it out. You know, I didn't even have that opportunity. And these kids nowadays they're definitely getting the opportunity. I'll say that. So maybe it's gone to the other extreme. That's kind of part of my speeches with people, is they now that we're so accepting of it and there's no social stigma. Now my dad, I would be able to say, hey, you can't say that to me. There's laws against this. You know, you can't misgender me. Now I would have power that I didn't have then, and I would have used it. But these kids are just taking advantage of it now, and their parents are letting them. and not taking advantage of their kids. They don't know what they're doing, but they're being manipulated into doing things with beyond just exploring. They're being taken advantage of with puberty blockers. That's where my conversation would go.
Yeah.
But they should explore with clothes. They should explore figuring out who they are, but not trying to, just because we do things that our parents don't like or that society deems on us, that doesn't make us the opposite sex. It just makes us boys that might like girls, or, you know, men that like women.
Yeah, I feel like we skipped a part. You know what I mean? Like we skipped like in our evolution, you know what I mean? When we came up on things and like it became like where, you know what I mean? Like we, instead of completely medicalizing everybody, it should just be that as long as people are wearing clothes, then they're wearing clothes. You know what I mean?
And
like
another big point
we
is,
kind of skipped that part, and like it kind of like it feels like we're reinforcing stereotype norms as opposed to being open to just, you know, like I don't care if somebody wants to wear a skirt or not wear a skirt or whatever. If you're being a, you know, you're not being an inappropriate person, then I don't really care what you're wearing. Like, you know,
with those social
do
stigmas
you.
gone, I would have been able to explore much easier. I would have
Yeah.
been comfortable to figure out, and eventually, like I figured out I was bisexual by 21, because I dressed at 19, 20, and then I started dating men around 21 because I had no luck with women. So I would have learned I was bisexual much sooner if I wasn't afraid, and I would have been able to admit it to myself, and I probably wouldn't have been so depressed or anxious about what my peers thought of me. I would have been more accepting. So I like that aspect of it, but I definitely don't like the taking advantage of the children's mentality. So that's what I meant by taking advantage.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I think that there's a we've gained so much acceptance, right? Like what was it 2015 2016 as when we got, you know, gay marriage rights, and then there was just like this, it's like, okay, well we have the rights that everybody else has, right? Like we had the rights, so it was like, and then it felt like it just completely, everything shifted, like drastically shifted really quick, where it went directly into trans rights, and because we had already done the work, you know what I mean? Like gosh, I want to give a shout out to everybody that came before us, everybody that, you know, that fought for us to have those rights, because we didn't always have that, and we have to remember that. And, you know, so it's like we gained more acceptance. I mean, the acceptance rate was at like more up until just recently. I think it was at like 87% acceptance for like same-sex marriages and whatever it is. We're going in a negative now. We actually are down. I think I don't know the exact percentage off the top of my head,
decreasing.
But it's 67, I think, percent now. So like we have less acceptance.
Yep.
Because
I got what you're throwing out.
It's being pushed too far for so many people. All of this.
Well, nobody wants that. Everybody should be accepting of people. I think that the fact that it's trending backwards is kind of shocking to me. I haven't heard that, and I don't like that. I don't want that, because, like I said, with removing stigmas and making people less angry or hateful, because they have these reasons and they're not really doing the research. It's political, it's religious. And then they just put their bias on it, and now it's 67%. We were, like you say, they were heading towards 100 possibly.
Yeah, like
we were again.
Yeah, we were getting
so
really close to really just having a good chunk of society that was like, yeah, we're just accepting of, you know what I mean, the LGBT and T community, and you know, and now it's like it's coming back and we're declining, and we're down like 20 points of acceptance. It's like, that's alarming to me, because
that's going to make kids even like not more willing to come out. Like now it's going to reverse. I think you saw me talk to those 8-year-olds, 10-year-olds. I don't know how old they were. 10-year-olds on the skateboard. They rode by me after I had engaged some transgender people, and they don't play this game. They don't want to play it. They're like, it's reverberating, and it's got like a Band-Aid effect. So it's
Yeah.
definitely not helping anybody. So
It feels like it's becoming repressive. It feels like we're being pushed into stereotypes when like my generation, Gen X, like we were all about like raging against the labels and breaking the labels down and not accepting all this stuff. And then it's like all of a sudden it's like,
it wasn't popular to do that. Now it's popular. Yeah.
yeah,
Was
well
it popular then?
now yeah, then it was like,
Okay.
well, I mean, it was just it was everything. It was just breaking the labels of everything. But now it feels like we're over labeled, and it feels like we're being pushed into stereotype norms because things are becoming very binary, right? So like somebody like like us, right? We didn't really fit into like being either masculine or super feminine. Like we were, we had a gauge on that, right? Like that's just how we are. So like we wouldn't be able to fit into society today that we did as kids.
Well, we would have to do some stuff that we wouldn't have liked to have done and probably have been forced into it, like mentally. I don't know. I probably would have fallen for this stuff.
I feel like I would have. I feel like because I was very much like the tomboy, growing up and rough and tumble. And, I've always, I've always been like just one of the, like a lot of times just like one of the guys, you know what I mean? I'm very comfortable in myself. And,
you're just trying to, at least for me and my personal stories, I'm trying to find a way to fit in so I'm not getting picked on. So if those are the boxes I would have fit, I would have broadcast them. I'd have been like, okay, well, this is who I am. You know who I am. Don't pick on me. And now it's accepting. Now it's acceptable to say stuff like that, which it should be.
And if there's a large group of kids that are mostly autistic, that are kind of like the, that kind of like the outcasts that don't really kind of, necessarily fit into what society's norms are, then that's where you're going to kind of gravitate towards, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
we're
I
trying
say,
to figure out where we do. Yeah.
Yeah. And so in that, I think that's how they've captured the people that are neurodivergent so easily, is that, it's the people that, don't necessarily like, just fit in a nice, neat little box that you could just tuck away. You know what I mean?
I'll read this paragraph right here. I got it right here. It says, autism expert Dr. Sully Powis said autistic teenagers searching for a reason why they do not fit in could fixate on the idea they were born in the wrong body, when gender might actually have nothing to do with it. So just feeling like I had the personal experience of I feel like an alien in the world. I don't relate to anybody. Like, why am I here? Why am I in the wrong body? Like, I have the feminine qualities. I should have been born a woman. And then we fixate on it. So we hyper focus. It becomes our special interest. And that's at least like on the autistic side. And since it's such a driving force, that's a large population of these transgender people are being told they're the opposite gender. And because they're being told the opposite gender and they're looking for ways to fit into society, they're going to hyperfixate on that and like I said, broadcast it a lot and just be boisterous about it and try to make it like who they are. We're big on labels, autistic people. I've learned. I've always been searching for labels, ways to describe who I am. And I've kind of learned that through watching and seeing people. A lot of autistic people want to understand. We have anxiety, depression. We have a lot of comorbidities. So I like answers, but trying to live by these labels is not a good way to be. And trying to force people to live on gender is not a good way to be. We should just let them learn, let them be kids and explore and have fun.
Yeah, I think that we need to, like, I think kids are being like just overly stimulated, overly sexually sexualized. You know what I mean? They're being introduced to things that are just it's too young. They're having to make decisions that are like lifelong decisions, like really young at an early age. And I mean, I didn't know when, like, you know, before I went through puberty, like that, what it was that whether it was it was never an option, like whether I wanted to be a woman or not. I just knew that I was just going to grow up to be a woman, and then that was it. You know what I mean? Like there wasn't anything like, there wasn't like a question about it. It wasn't an option. Yeah, now it's like you have to decide whether or not you want to be something that you don't know what it is, or something that you otherwise that you don't know what it is really, because you don't you unless you live it, you don't know it, right? So like you would never really know what it is to be born as a female. I think that the closest people that actually could tell us would be people that were born intersex, that have lived as, you know, I mean, as both, and how, like, I'm having Emmeline Dowd on Thursday, and she was born intersex, and she was raised as a male, and had medical complications in high school, and then found out that she was intersex. Then, so like there was no influence her whole life growing up, right? Like she didn't know, like she just didn't even know it was a thing. And so it's a really her story is so interesting to me, because she's also against the medicalization of children, and for, you know, very, you know, like very similar, you know, like reasons that we are in the same boat with that. And, you know, and so it just shows that like the human body has like a way of just of doing what the human body's going to do. It's our bodies are amazing, you know, like what we do and how we you know, regenerate and how we recover from things. But so she made the switch because of, you know, because of medical reasons. She made the switch to live, you know, as a female, and it was a good decision for her.
Was she producing estrogen? I mean, I don't know much about intersex. Like that would be my question, is like if that's what she's naturally producing, then it would make sense to me.
She did have different levels of the hormones at different times. And I'll let her explain.
Yeah, no, I'll learn on Thursday. That'd be my first thought. That would be like, yeah, I'd like to learn about that. And
yeah, we did. This is a second interview, because we did one that was 6 months ago. Also, I can send you the link if you want.
Yeah,
if you want to watch the other one. But yeah, it's just so interesting. So I'm like really excited to catch up with her. And I think that somebody that was born intersex, that lived as a, you know, a certain gender, and that ended up being actually the female gender, because that's what their body decided.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like it wasn't in their head. It wasn't even an option. It was their body that decided it. So I think that natural. Like, yeah, like she had a really good, like, you know, experience with it. And she's like, you know, and of course, looking back in hindsight, it's, you know what I mean? It's easy to look back as an adult and always say, well, in hindsight, I see that I was this as a kid, or I was this, you know what I mean? But giving kids that responsibility of making such a lifelong decision,
autonomy, yeah,
they don't, you know what I mean? And it just, and I like what Jerry says here. It's the classic pendulum theory. The further it gets pushed one way, the farther it will often swing back the other way. So I think that that's what's happening with the LGBT anti approval rating. Is that, you know, it was pushed so far in one direction that it's swinging back the other way, and so I'm hoping that we can find some balance in there. I'm hoping that we can bring that pendulum back to, you know, a middle ground where we're not losing support, and we're able to support the children and what they're going through, and figure out why they're going through it, and
support them, like you said. I agree. Yep.
You know, like we need to be supporting each other on things, and if we can't talk about it, then we definitely can't support each other, right? Because that's just, if we can't even talk about it, then it's just causing more division.
Yeah, no, I'm hoping to talk to a lot of people about it. I hope to. My my wife's looking up events at this point, like just local events I could walk around that are public. So just get the message out as much as I can, be respectful as much as I can, and learn as much as I can. So because I don't want to be pushing anything that's incorrect, and I don't want these kids to be learning anything that they shouldn't be. Like they shouldn't be taught. Like we have companies that are pushing stuff on them that's been bothering me as well. That's yeah.
And if you go on TikTok, I don't go on there very often, but like if you go on TikTok and you look into this topic and you get on the algorithm of the TikTok things, the things that get pushed, like what people don't understand is the reason why the facts matter so much is because the children are digesting the information from places like TikTok, from places like social media. So when they're hearing people say things that aren't true about this, and they're saying that, and like they're saying that like men can breastfeed, or that men can have babies, or any of these things that require nuance to the conversation to explain that, right? They're not getting that context, and it's confusing children. And I mean,
like you say, echo chamber. They're getting one side, and they don't even know that they should be investigating. They haven't been to English 102 yet. So they don't know about research.
Yeah, the kids don't know, like, oh, that this person that I like on TikTok isn't telling me the truth, and they can accept and believe it, and that's what makes it dangerous, is that when conversations are shut down and we can't talk about things, but there are people repeating the things that aren't true, and they have access, you know what I mean? And that's where the kids are gravitating towards, and they're and the other adults that are trying to say, hey, wait, that information isn't true, you know what I mean? That's not how biology works, and we're getting shut down. Like, it's like, so you're leaving it up to people to just, you're allowing others that are maybe not telling the truth to just inform kids. Like, this channel is 18 plus, so you have all of the content marked as that, because I'm not talking to children. I'm talking to adults about adult conversation, about adult things, and we need to figure things out as adults before we let the kids start running the show. I mean, I think that's
one of my favorite quotes you kind of set me up for is half the population is below average intelligence. So they're pushing these messages, and people aren't smart enough to even question it. And then they go in the name of acceptance, and just because they don't want to think about it, they got too much stuff to do. They got to worry about their jobs, and they don't want to deal with the extra stress. So it's a bad circle.
It is. It is a bad circle when that happens. When especially when conversations are shut down. So it's like, oh yeah, well, I'm going to label this person as this slur, and now suddenly, you know what I mean? Everyone go and cancel this person. I call them cancel culture vultures. Because I feel like they're always lingering, waiting to see, like, who's the next person that we can cancel? Who's the next person that we can go after? It's like, and I think people get off on it, and I'm over here like, you don't know. We shouldn't be canceling anybody. We shouldn't be canceling comedians. We shouldn't be canceling. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
Like,
I used to like comedy. You can't do comedy anymore.
It's ridiculous. It's like, even if I think something is a joke in bad taste and I don't laugh at it, it doesn't mean that I think that they should be censored from saying it. I think maybe some of them need to have some freaking tact, you know what I mean? and maybe not say things, but like, I'm not going to police them and say that they can't say them, though. You know what I mean?
The only comedian I saw that's brave enough to do a show right now was Rob Schneider. And I don't want to watch Rob Schneider. I hope there were like bigger, like funnier people that were willing to say things that were controversial. Because I used to love people like that just made you think, that challenged your thoughts. Even if, like you say, you don't agree with it. It's not something we have anymore.
Yeah, I miss that. I miss, like, like, do they even do debate class anymore? Like, I never did
I
debate
did.
class, but, like, you know what I mean? Like, it I think that it's interesting to get different people's perspectives. Like, I don't if I I would just talk to myself all day if I didn't want someone else's perspective.
Mhm.
But,
Well,
like,
that's not how you grow. Like I
yeah,
like
I
to read, I
know.
like to research, I like to find out, like I said, why, so that I can understand. If I don't like, I literally like to understand the ins, the outs. I would like to know why a piece moves a certain way, and that's like another way that I can hyperfixate as an autistic person and just take advantage of the way my brain works. But I need to know, and I'm that's another reason why we can hyperfixate on these genders and like, what can I do? And then the W path is the only people that are pushing the agendas, and they're silencing people that can actually get good information out to you because they don't like your opinion. So these kids are hyper fixating and looking for this information, and they're finding bad information on TikTok, like you said. So
Yeah, just
it's
anywhere.
all that.
I mean, if you go do a search and you want to go find a search that, says that has XYZ outcome, you can go do a search and you can get all kinds of entries as to that will back up why XYZ is blah blah blah, right? Or you
Mhm.
can say, well, how is XYZ not blah blah blah, whatever the topic is.
Ooh, yeah. You
And
just made me
then
think of something else. Yeah.
that's when you start to really, like, like, you got to look at things from all different angles, because if
Uh-huh.
not, you're just confirming your own bias.
It's true. I forget the writer, and this is a thing about groupthink, but it's World War Z, and he's a new age guy. He's been on Bill Maher a couple times. He is brilliant. I should remember his name, but he wrote World War Z, and
Help us out, chat.
yeah,
Who is it?
I think it's a Gibson. I think it's a Gibson's son or something. I don't even know. It's a really popular actor's son. And so he wrote this World War Z movie, and one of my favorite lines in it is, when 10 out of 10 people say something and there's no disagreement, they agree on every single aspect of something, you need to have a 10th man, or if nine, then you need to have a 10th man out that does the exact opposite, that prepares for the situation that you don't see, that you say is not possible. We need to have critical thinkers. We need to be prepared for the zombie apocalypse. We need to be prepared for everything. Not like I'm crazy, but it's good to be able to question things, to wonder what's happening. You get me?
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm
To be
always
prepared.
talking about this kind of stuff. I always say that, like, I feel like we're in the middle of the zombie apocalypse right now.
I don't
It
want to come off
feels
crazy.
like it.
I don't want to.
I say
Yeah.
it all the time. I've been saying this for a while. Like, I feel like we're in the middle of the zombie apocalypse, because it feels like, like, of course, like, we're in it and people just don't even realize that we're in it. Like, it's like we're in, like, the Truman Show zombie apocalypse style. And, like, most people are just, like, minding their business and going through life as a normal thing. And they're not really thinking about all the consequences of all the other actions and all the things that are done in our names by not only our government, by, you know what I mean, other people, our communities. And, like, we're so distracted by everything.
A lot of
So,
people don't
like,
care. Like I've talked about, they're not all there, and they're happy to just get by their day. So I've kind of learned that about most of Americans, at least.
yeah, there's a lot of people that just, like, I'm just, I just want to go to work and go home and hang out with my kids and have my weekend. And, you know what I mean? Like, they just,
Yeah. No, I agree.
and I get it. I get why they want to tune out and put their head in the sand like an ostrich and just, like, be like, yeah, you guys, peace out, But the thing
I
is,
say that to people that don't engage me. I'm like, you just want to put your head in the sand. You don't want to see the truth. And it's just true. You don't have to. When you're ready, I'll be here.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like, we have a great community here, and, we welcome people from, all walks of life. And, and we like having conversations with everybody from all walks of life because of that.
Mm-hmm. just thinking of the other things to talk about. I didn't talk about my Flagstaff story so much. So I was up there and they called the police on me multiple times. And that's another thing that's kind of noteworthy and stuff to talk about. Someone that noticed them call the police on me actually took a video of me. They say that they were part of the Kerry Lake team, but as much as I believe people, because they questioned me after the police left. They're like, what just happened? Why did that happen? How many times have they called the cops on you? And
They just
so
kept calling the cops on you?
Yeah, I
For
was
standing there with a
protesting
sign?
I was talking to them, and I was like, "Hey, the thing I kept yelling and talking again, out loud, boisterously. Yelling is a fine word, I guess, but not being harassing. Is I was saying, if you want to shake the hand of the person that got this to be 18 plus, I'm right here. I would say stuff like that, like no children allowed. I'm the guy that made that happen. And then I would just talk my talking points, and the cops know I'm allowed to be there. They told me to be on the other side of the street the day, like earlier after I got banned. The cops told me how to do this because, like, I listened. I just asked the laws. They tell me, and if you're nice to people, they'll give you advice. So they told me how to do it, and I did it the legal way. And I went across the
I love
street,
it.
and I just held my sign. And I talked to them, and someone from that line actually wrote a hate piece on me, the Arizona Right Wing Watch. But
Really?
I got a lot of followers because of it, though, so that's cool. Yeah, people don't always follow groupthink.
You got they wrote a hit piece on you already?
Yeah, they called because of this symbol right here. I don't even remember the exact name of it. My wife got me this shirt, and that's no joke. It's paganism, and that's what it's about. And it starts with a V. I should know it off the top of my head. It's a new symbol to me, but it was the only one available on Amazon. It's just to be straight up true. And they said because I have this symbol, I'm a Nazi. This is like the Nazi star, and it's not. And I've seen the Nazi star, but that's their way to connect me to it. And so they were saying
they want to make anybody a Nazi that they possibly can.
I weathered it, and there was a journalist, Nick Martin. He retweeted them and said, "Wendy Rogers, why?" Because she followed me after this, the Arizona senator. Wendy Rogers, why are you following a self-proclaimed Nazi or whatever who wears Nazi symbols on his chest? So I already fought that, and he didn't really have anybody supporting him on that tweet. They ended up getting a lot of likes on again, but I know that this is their echo chamber. So the fact that they had 300 likes on their post that didn't understand what I was doing, there was a hit piece out against me. That doesn't bother me at all. What was cool was the 200 followers I got from it because they put the hit piece out. The people that know that it's BS. I was like, oh, why is this happening? Thank you. I thanked them. But then they blocked me after I thanked them for all the new followers.
That's crazy. Well, I'm hoping it's just not like Nazis that are following you now, thinking that you have a Nazi symbol.
Oh, if they, I look at my followers, because I do kind of follow for follow. It's more or less. I know I don't have Nazis following. I pay attention.
That would be like the worst case scenario. You know what I mean? It's like, wait, I got followers, but they're all Nazis or something. Yeah, obviously.
That I wouldn't allow.
We're joking. This is a hard line for us. We both, I think we can both say that we agree that we do not support Nazis. We do not want them following us. They're not part of our, you know what I mean? Our friends. Like,
no, I would block them instantly. And if
exactly.
Is a Nazi, please tell me.
I'm hoping that if they followed you for the right reasons and it's for, you know what I mean, the fact that what you're speaking out for, then that's like obviously a better reason,
because it's a political hit job, and that's what they were going for. So they're a political commentary.
You gotta send me that article. That is
I'm blocked. I'll send you their link.
Okay. That's just crazy that they wrote a hit piece out.
So they wouldn't talk to me, but they would do a Twitter page. And I search. I'm not that I just like to know what's going on. I search Shaman Flagstaff, and that's how I found the article. But so I will continue to try to find hit pieces on me, because if you're not willing to talk to me, then why would I not try to find out what you're going to say about me behind my back? I've learned that people talk behind your back. might as well try and find out what's going on. And I did. I found it first, like within hours.
Oh my God.
I pay attention to stuff. But yeah, so they called the cops on me, wrote a hit piece on me, and the cops were gone in less than 5 minutes, like every time. So at the parade, the first time that the police were told to watch me, oh, and to get to this, as soon as the pole dancer showed up, I kind of like, whoa, I was shocked. There's a pole dancer at the parade. This is that
public. This was a public pride parade, right? Like
public
outside?
pride parade. I'm on the streets. And again, I'm afraid now that I know that they can rent things out and get permits, I'm glad they weren't able to get a permit because they could have kicked me out. But yeah, it's a public street, and there's a pole and a pole dancer in yoga pants and yoga clothes going up and down the street. And I notice it, and I kind of get triggered, like, oh, no way, this is my story. This is everything I'm here for. And I didn't record it right. That's why we didn't get much video of that. So I was just running with my board, trying to keep in front of them, trying not to run in people. And so my first interaction with the police was this cop, and I pay attention to everything. I like watch my surroundings, and I noticed where all the cops were, not for a nefarious reason, but just so I know. And he's standing on that corner the entire time. And as soon as I start going down the street recording this pole dancer, he's following me. So I don't play with that. After 20 seconds of him following me, and again, I know he was on that corner for a good 30 minutes. So I'm abrasive. I just stopped and I walked up to him and I'm like, so why are you following me? He goes, I'm not, I'm just walking down the street. And I go, all right, well, I have video of you standing on that corner 30 minutes ago. And I just walked by that corner and you were standing right there. But now you're walking down the street. And I go, I'm a man of action. I'm not afraid to own that. I'm going to talk to people. Why are you following me? And he goes, I'm not. I go, okay, have a good day. And he stopped. He went back to his post.
Yeah, because you called him out on it. Like, he's like, I got to double down on this. No, I wasn't following you.
But he was.
Dude. That's so funny.
That wasn't called on, but he was following me because I was, again, like triggered. Like, oh my gosh. And getting video. And I'm asking parents as I'm walking down, are you okay with this? Are you okay with children seeing this? So I'm broadcasting it, and I'm not worried about recording. And I need better equipment because I can't see my camera, But so I should have taken it off the sign because it was such a big deal. But so I'm carrying the sign down, and I'm technically shaming these parents. But again, it's my First Amendment right. I'm not harassing them. I'm just saying, hey, are you okay with this? Or I'm talking to them. So after I'm posting the videos, and I'm like, oh damn, I only have so many. So I'm posting the videos I have. And parents walking by, I go, shame on you for being here, showing your kid this, because they have kids. And I'm not afraid to say that to people. And it's not too abrasive. If they don't want to engage me, they don't have to. They can walk on. So a cop was sitting there watching me again. And I'm like, what's up, bro? And so I looked up from my phone and I go, I don't need a chaperone. And he goes, oh, I'm just sitting here. And I go, okay. And he actually walked up, engaged me at that point, and he read my sign and he talked to me, and he goes, and I go, so what's the problem? He goes, oh, those people said you said something you obviously didn't. So he didn't tell me what they said, but he just walked off after that. So they were telling on me and trying to get me thrown out of the streets. But again, I know how to talk to people. I follow the law, and the cop knew the way I respected him, and I'm not going to break the law. I'm not going to do anything to get thrown out. And I don't have video of all that because I was posting.
So there was a public event, a parade that happened, right? And Flagstaff. And then the after party, it was supposed to be, it was held.
There was an event after that too, between 12 and 9. So they had the whole day from 7 to 1 a.m. They had events, 3 different events. And I had tickets to 2 of them, and I was banned from 2 of them. So I did the parade, and then I showed up to the event. And then the event, that's where I started asking a bunch of questions like, what are the rules on reentry? And I'm in my crown. I'm wearing everything. I've learned not to do that in the future if I want to be a journalist. Don't show up in my gear. But so I show up, and then they ban me. And that's when the security tries to be all big and bad and tough. And I have video of that. but they tried to like tell me like you're banned. I'm like, why? And they wouldn't tell me why. So I actually told them, well, I'm going to go in. Like, who are you? You're nobody. Like, well, then we're gonna give you a trespass if you go into the event. I go, well, what did I do? They won't tell me. Well, you're banned is basically what I'm getting. So if you try to go in the event, we're going to trespass you. And that's when I'm like, okay, I'm done talking to you. I'm actually just going to talk to the police at this point. And my post was, I stopped talking to the guy that thought he was a man, and I talked to the real men, because I'm a little sarcastic. Like, he was trying to be a big tough guy, you know. He had a gun, he was broadcasting, and like trying to puff his chest out at me. And I'm not playing his social games. So I just went and talked to the cops, and they told me the rules on private events and why I wasn't allowed in. And I'm like, oh, well, if that's the rules, I didn't do enough research, I accept it. So they were going to give me my refunds.
That's the thing, is that they could just give you actual answers and communicate with you. I don't understand why that's so tough for some people to communicate. Like,
yeah,
it's really.
I asked questions like, why? And he's like, I just told you. I'm like, well, no, you didn't. I'm autistic and I know what words mean. I'm very big on words. What you said was I'm not allowed in. You didn't tell me why.
So you're kind of using, you know what I mean? You're using something that, you know what I mean, your autism for a good purpose. You know what I mean? Like, because you're detail oriented, you pay attention to what is being said to you, you take note of it. So you're able to like turn something that
cops
others
hate me for that sometimes. Like, I know what to say, how to say details, and people hate having discussions with me. And I don't know if that's general with autistic people. I've kind of learned it has. But yeah, we know how to hack conversations, hack systems, figure problems out. I'm a big time problem solver, and I have made this my special interest and goal in life. And I can't stand for it knowing that I have I say autistic daughter. I'm like 99% sure she is. It's kind of inappropriate to get her diagnosed, especially if she's high functioning. She wouldn't get diagnosed right now. She's in a neurodivergent. She'll display more characteristics throughout time. But even if she's not autistic, she will be vulnerable to all the stuff that's going on. And I need to take care of her. And I maybe this is the appropriate time. We got 14 viewers still. Amazing. I'm seriously considering, because I care so much about this. And I know that I'm the person that I can confront people without being too far. I can get things done, and I know I can. I'm seeing it. I'm seriously considering running for office in some aspect. I've heard of a lot of people doing it, and the major reason why I'm not denying myself this possibility is Marjorie Taylor Greene's in office. You know, there's some crazy people in office. If these people can do it, and I've got this level of dedication, I've got the cause, I've got a message, there's no way that I can't use this gift I have to possibly be a congressman for Arizona. And that's my goal, just to say that out loud to people. And maybe I've tweeted about it, and I've asked people's opinions, but I'm going to make that my special interest, because I have to be heard. I'm not wrong. I'm willing to take the beating. I'm willing to have these tough discussions. I'm willing to problem solve, and I'm going to do it.
But the only thing that I can think of with this is that that if you are in an elected official representative capacity in that way, you're not going to be able to just take one special interest. You're going to have to take on all kinds of special interests.
AOC is kind of
that's the difference.
There's people. I hear you, and especially at a lower level Congress, you can probably focus more on your special interests. Senate, less likely. But AOC focuses more on only what she cares about. So I hear you. Probably not. I could probably focus on one thing, make it my thing. But I hear you, and that's good advice. I take all advice. I will need to listen to people. I need to go talk to the people. I need to listen and have meetings. And
I think
it's not something I'm against.
Starting, I think, you know, that can be a larger goal, but I think starting out, I think you would be best, like,
you told me that privately.
Just like starting like with like the
I don't want to do city. I don't want to do city
school
stuff.
board or something.
Thinker. I hear you. I'm a big action person.
I know. I
challenge the cops that follow me. I am not the person to mess with. and people will learn that. And
I just think starting small and getting your foot in the door there and seeing how it works for you and seeing if you like that before you go for something.
Well, and I don't have the choice. My friend Dag, who's a genius, like literal genius, has talked to me about this. I talked to everybody, and I've taken perspectives before I made this decision, of course. But I'm going to try and join the DeSantis camp, and I don't care what everybody else's political beliefs are. You could believe. I live with the Democrat that's a near socialist. That's my wife, you know, and I live with an independent Vietnam veteran. Like, I can talk to people about their beliefs. I kind of did lose my train of thought. The special interest of, I don't have the power to choose if I'm going to be a congressman. It's really up to Ron DeSantis if I impress him, because that's going to be my next goal. I'm going to try. I've joined a group that's a Ron DeSantis group. It's got 728 members. I'm going to try and learn all I can about it. I'm, like you say, special interest. I'm going to try and be part of his team, and I'm going to try and push that's where he should put me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not really like a DeSantis, huge DeSantis fan, but I have friends who are big DeSantis fans, and you'll see them like on my Twitter and stuff like that. And we just kind of like, we just have an acknowledgement that I'm not, and they are, and that's where we leave it.
I mean, yeah. I just wanted to announce it since I'm on a video thing, and again, I have a lot of Democrat followers. I have my wife's a Democrat. That's kind of the cool thing about possibly running for office, and the big reason I'm doing it is I think I can connect with a lot of people. And then people are going to be afraid, and I've kind of learned this. They're afraid to touch an Aspie. I kind of have my moments. Like, you know, I'm too honest sometimes. I have my friends that are like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you said that. Like, I am drastic. I am difficult. I will have to learn to temper myself to be able to get endorsements from people. But I don't think that that's a terribly bad thing, as long as I can prove myself, which is a goal.
Yeah. I mean, what's the worst that can happen? Like, it doesn't work out.
City council member.
Yeah, they're like, okay, it won't work out for you. So like, you gain experience, you gain knowledge, you gain, you know what I mean? You gain some more insider information. You know what I mean? Like, so
I'm at the right age to do it. Like, they make president. You have to be a 35, I believe it is, to be president. Like, there's reasons that there's age limits. Like we have to acknowledge that and stop giving kids stuff that they shouldn't have. There's reasons for age limits. And I think I'm at the right maturity level to possibly be doing that, listening to people, other perspectives, and bringing people together.
Well, keep us up to date on what happens, you know?
I will. I'm a boisterous
Let me know.
It's a new plan.
I'm excited for you.
Well, I take things on, activist to journalist to possible politician. Like, I will find my spot. I will land somewhere.
Oh, I'm sure. I believe it because look at what you've done already. Look at this. You already had your first hit piece about you. Come on.
Yeah.
That's like that like just like validates the fact that you're doing something, that you've gotten people's attention, right? Like, so it's very validating when people are like, you know, like when I think about like all the people that try to like, you know, cancel me and stuff, right? I'm like, oh, well, you know what? It's kind of cleansing to know like who really does care about things and who doesn't, right?
I'm being smart not to bring up Jordan Peterson or Matt Walsh, who I really like a lot, but Matt Walsh said something recently, and it was from Jordan Peterson. It's when you have the truth on your side, that's really all that you need to care about. Like, history will find you, you know.
That is true. And there, I've covered some of the things that Matt Walsh has covered because others aren't covering it, because there's not a lot of this coverage from like a more of a left lens or a left perspective. And that's why I think it's important to talk to people from all different backgrounds.
Oh, he's hard for me too, Matt Walsh, sometimes. I would still work for him, but wow, is he difficult. So I get it.
Yeah, like he definitely he has some views that are just like, whoa, like I cannot get behind.
I would call him out for it and he'd probably fire me.
Yeah, I don't think you would last there very long. Go Star, tell your mom we said
Yeah.
happy birthday. He bought earrings for his mom from my store, and I sent them to him,
Aw.
and he just got back from spending your birthday with her. That's awesome.
I noticed you did have some pretty nice ones. Was it the green resin ones I saw?
It was
Those-
they were Pink Floyd seed bead earrings that I made.
It's cool to be able to be talented like that. I don't have the ability to use my hands like that, so I appreciate that.
Yeah, it's awesome. Okay.
Well, congratulations and happy birthday.
It's really awesome.
The after party, yeah, I pretty much told you everything about what happened there. They called the cops on me, and then I left. I didn't even stay till 11. Oh, the other thing about the after party, that person there was, I don't know if you saw the video, but somebody threatened me, and again, I don't play those games, so the cops saw the video because again they showed up. I showed them the video, and they're like, "Yeah, he's just a drunk." I'm like, "Yeah, I know. I wouldn't have even shown you this, but you're here right now. Like, just so you know, this is the guy, you know." But I'm going to run into a lot of people that are like, just because I have an opinion, he's bigger than me. He was stronger than me too, but I'm not afraid of him. And I broadcast that to him. And so that's kind of sometimes what you need to do. Just like, hey, don't look at me like that. Don't threaten me. I'm just here talking to people. And just having that mentality is going to upset people. And they're not going to be like, how come you don't follow social norms? How come I don't have the balls to do that, the guts, you know, like you laugh a couple times at the things I've done, but it's because people aren't willing to do that stuff. And I'm willing to call people out for stuff like that.
Oh man, Snork's going on the dark side with you.
To be honest. Yeah, no, I had some real thought about this because Carrie Lake kind of owns Arizona, and I'm probably going to lose support in Arizona. This is a tough decision for me. Because I want to win, but I want to be on the right side of history. She's not on the right side of history, even if I don't win this, and I'm okay with that because I don't need to win now, and I realize that. Even if DeSantis doesn't win this election and doesn't appoint people or pick people to be, and I picked the wrong camp, I'm going to have to live with that. But I can't be behind people like Carrie Lake. That she called one of my friends a groomer just for defending a friend. And I'm not for those tactics of Trump. I'm not for the tactics that have been going on, and I can't put my name behind it. I will, and I'm not even going to lie. I'll say publicly, I'll vote for Trump. But just so all my followers or anybody watching this, if he's the nominee, I will. It's going to be hard, but I'm not supporting him. And I'm
not voting for any of them. So
yeah,
like I am not.
I have to.
I'm nonpartisan in all of this. Like
yeah.
I'm in. You know, and until we'll just say
yeah.
until there's more integrity in the system.
And Trump has none of it right now. Trump, he's talking about the pinned comment from a second ago.
And Angela says, "You, sir, have arrived. You have the haters." That's how you know you're making a difference. If you have people, you know you're above a target, right? Like when you're above a target, that's when the haters come. That's when you know you're where you need to be. That's where you know, like, okay, I'm hitting a nerve here with this truth. So this is where I need to be. This is what I need to speak on.
You know, again, I was recording and posting, so I wasn't able to have. I don't have two cameras, so I even said to these people that walked by me, I'm like, hey, I don't have my camera on. You can say whatever you want because I like to learn. Say the drastic thing that you wouldn't say on camera. Say it to me so I can be prepared for it next time. And they were actually organizers, so they walked by me, and after they got to the corner, so they're a good 75 feet away from me, they go, "We learned about you 2 weeks ago." I go, "Okay, you should. Why aren't you following me?" And they go, what they say? They go, "We had to change the entire event because of you. Not because of 2 people, not because of 3 people. No, because of you." And I just went, yes.
One person can make a difference, and this shows this.
Yeah, so just getting on people's nerves is definitely not something that I'm like seeking, but it's a way to affect change, and I know that. So they're going to be upset about it. They're going to, and like I said, they got me, and I hope not the inappropriate followers. I'll say it that way. But I hope that they can.
I know. I hope they're not inappropriate followers. Now I'm like, oh gosh. Now you're gonna be paranoid.
Oh look.
Like, are these inappropriate followers? You know,
Like,
but how do you vet followers? You know what I mean? Like,
I have some really extreme right-wing followers, and the one I'll list is Sheepdog Society, extreme right. He follows me, I follow him. I don't believe 95% of the stuff he says, but there's some stuff I will agree with him on. So like that's as extreme as I'll go. You know, like people that have I won't go, you know, crazy.
I get smeared as being like a right winger, and I'm like, okay, sure. Like, I'm not a right winger. I've never voted for a Republican in my freaking life. You know, like, I'm nonpartisan. I'm not even voting. Like, I don't know what right, and why is that a smear? Just because somebody's in the right, like.
I don't understand how that works. You're a right wing or you're a left wing, or yeah, but if you don't subscribe to the paradigm at all that you guys are presenting, then it doesn't have any impact whatsoever.
Like,
call me whatever you fucking want.
Put whatever label you want on me.
Whatever label you like. I'm still gonna demonstrate the fact that all of you.
I'm a free thinker.
All of you people still thinking that voting is gonna do anything for anyone in any way possible.
It's
all
corruption.
Of the people that think that and feed into that and make that thing just.
And we're on YouTube.
Making sure that mechanism doesn't stop. Making sure that beautiful democracy of ours never stops or never falters. I'm gonna react the same exact way to every single person that tells me, "Oh, you have to. Would you vote for this or vote for that?" No.
My best friend right now, and I liked your comment about Santa. I saw that. That's funny.
Well, that's exactly how I feel.
It's true.
That's literally
you're not wrong.
It's literally what's happening.
So that right there, if we can fix that, if we can get integrity and where people can have faith back in that system, then you could have an amazing election.
Potentially.
I'll read your comment later, Devin. We'll talk about that.
But I think that in order for that to happen, we have to have people from all sides of the aisle. Everybody has to be represented. Every viewpoint has to be represented in order for that to happen.
Your vote counts if you're dead. Oh, some people are funny. No, so I have one of my best friends right now, Dag, kind of really didn't want me to try to push politics because I know it's corrupt. I see the systems. Like, what are you going to actually affect change in? Like, what are you, Ron Paul or something? You know, like they're really like kind of laughing at me, and they're my friend, and I accept that. You know,
I'm gonna laugh at you too.
That's fine. I accept that, and it's like I actually. The reason that I would vote for me would be because I actually want to affect change. I don't want to take and I mean it, unlike Trump said it. Like, I fell for that crap, you know? Like, yeah, I don't want to take the corporation's money. Like, I know it's corrupt. I know the people are bought. Like, I actually legitimately wouldn't. I didn't even take a $3,000 check from somebody that would have benefited me greatly. And I could go into details on that in the political road later, but like, I don't take blood money. And I would fight for principles. I would try to convince people to not do this stuff. And I may run into a lot of opposition, but it's just, I'm staunch. I believe what I believe, and it's just how I would present things. And hopefully enough people like me then would be inspired to change the system, because somebody has to do it. So I'm willing to try.
I think ultimately, until everybody is aware of how flawed and corrupted every single aspect of our government is, and how it started that way in the first place, and how it's all just been sold down the river to the richest people.
Can we defeat it though?
Our medical system and all the different systems. Okay, they're all broken.
He's like, you're popping my bubble right now.
Listen.
It's true. It's true.
I'm sitting here listening. I want to interject. My point is that every single person needs to be made aware of the fact that they have been programmed since birth to feel a certain way about every single subject that we're talking about. And all of those subjects and all of those systems that support those subjects are broken inherently and started that way. So the only way to make a new thing that's actually going to affect change in anything more than incrementalism is to break that system down to a new system. Revolution does not use existing failed systems.
Yeah.
It makes a new way. That's the thing.
No,
that
I don't
all these
disagree.
fucking phony ass revolutionaries in indie media and everywhere else in the world are like, oh, we're gonna have a revolution. Like, no, motherfucker. The thing that you're trying to fucking vote for is broken. You can't get there from here. There's a gap. You know what I mean? There's a disconnect between what you're thinking. I may agree with you 100% on the things that you want, but achieving them is impossible because the system is built against you.
And the people don't care, like you said.
And the people don't give a fuck enough to
I
be
know.
angry enough.
So, you know, we're
Talk to me.
I'm disenfranchised as a guy could be. You know what I mean?
I'm disenfranchised too.
You know,
it's
either
see a calling
down or we're gonna just stay stuck in the mud.
Yeah, no, I heard a couple ideas honestly about that. Like if everybody just didn't go to work, we would just shut the system down.
There's many ways to revolutionize this
general strike.
Absolutely.
I'll listen. I'll listen. Maybe if I'm in Congress, I'll be able to implement that behind the closed doors and the alleys and manipulate people because I know mind control tactics.
It's like I'm gonna go in there and zombify everybody and get them.
I would dedicate myself to it.
It's worked to a degree for some folks. You know what I mean? Look at Nancy. Nancy Pelosi did it for 35 years. She's kicking that. Look at Joe Dementia Biden fucking failing upwards for fucking 60 years, ladies and gentlemen.
I know it feels ridiculous. Like the world is laughing at us. Like, hello, what is going on? We need to wake up our neighbors. We need to talk to our friends. We need to talk to people we don't agree with.
Just talk to people. Never mind fucking your opinion on your fucking Twitter space. Like, shut the fuck up and actually get out of your house and speak to another human being and interact with them and learn how to develop those skills and social awareness and social cues and social fucking overcome the social programming that we all are fucking indoctrinated with to start and start thinking critically and start freeing your mind from these constraints of, you know, this idea that we can't have anything unless we conform to the system that's already been broken for 250 years.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to talk to anybody and everybody. Like, I even respect your opinion, and I find the truth in it. Like, anybody that would tell you you're crazy is somebody that I wouldn't want to talk to.
Right.
So, I would want to talk.
I want to be able to. I want to just be able to express that. I don't expect anybody to replace their opinion with mine. I'm just going to give you all the details and all the minutia involved with my thinking on the process. And then maybe you'll think about your process a little bit differently. And maybe we just fuel some more thinking. And I think that's like the fundamental thing that we have to do. And that's why it's so important to have people on and discuss these things that are otherwise, like, people are like, oh, you can't talk about that. That's taboo. You're a TERF or you're a trans.
And I'm not afraid to do it.
Shut the fuck up, okay? Yeah. We're just talking like adults about things that need to be understood better by everyone.
And when I first started kind of doing, I kind of made this my thing to kind of that I started diving into. I've been covering, matriarchy versus patriarchy and the gingerbread people and all of this stuff for a long time. And I've done shows on cults and labels and, basically, it's just kind of wherever kind of the interest goes, whatever kind of piques my interest is kind of where we go. And we just look at it through as much of a critical lens as we possibly can. And we kind of and it seems like the ideology and everything that's happening, it's there is so many levels to it. And so many different angles to it. It's I've spent a lot of time on it. And at first Steve was like, what is, he didn't even want to talk about this at first. He was very resistant to just, not talking about it and not wanting to really focus on it because it was it was one of those taboo topics.
It was a niche thing. It wasn't everybody understood these facts, just like George was in the chat earlier, just being like, how much is this actually happening? Because it seems like it's just conflated, made up numbers and da 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 da. And I'm like, no, this is actually a thing that's happening.
And it's growing in numbers.
It's growing in numbers really quickly.
Exponentially. Like, I mean,
that's why we're talking about it, not just to sensationalize something.
When I use terms that are trying to bring attention to people and people are like, oh, that's not true, and it's drastic. I try to bring attention. So
sure.
And maybe I should calm down a bit. Maybe I'll learn that. But we need to be able to talk about these things, and people aren't even willing to. So I'm trying to bring attention to it.
Evolve our thinking as we go, right? Yeah. Like if we suddenly are like, oh, well, we get this bit of evidence and it completely disproves a portion of what we're saying, then we're going to say, hey, we found something that disproves this entire belief of what blah, blah, blah that we've been saying. Yeah. Right.
I wanted to talk about the mainstream media. Like, we're doomed because of mainstream media. Like, that's another reason I became a citizen journalist, was because I gave the story and I'm giving truth and facts and everything that I've researched. And they told me, and I have it here, reached out to Fox 10. They decided, I decided to become a journalist. They told me that they were following the medical guidance of doctors. So just because the few doctors who wanted to make a couple bucks, who they don't even want to question their motives. They just want to follow what's PC. They don't want to put out possible things that they don't fully understand yet. And they don't want to do the research into it, because they could have talked to me. They could have questioned me. They could have had me on their show. But instead, they sent me a message that says, well, we're just going to follow social norms. So mainstream media doesn't actually give you information.
No.
And I've learned that.
Yeah.
And that's why I became a citizen journalist, and then maybe more, because I'm going to find the information. I'm going to learn what's real. And I've learned, based on me sending emails and me trying to talk to people, that they don't care. No. So I do. I'm going to find the truth.
Yeah, we used to watch, I mean, before 2020 really happened. We can't really go into that much detail of that because we are on YouTube as well as Rumble and Odyssey right now, but YouTube doesn't allow that. So
no liking, you say bad things.
No, they have censored the hell out of me.
I agree. They stink.
Yeah, so we'll talk about this in the most, like, not talking about the exacting way is that we have to. So we used to think like, well, at least if we watch some mainstream media, we can kind of filter out where the truth is.
Yes.
And I used to think and I'm like, why the hell should I have to filter out truth? Like, why don't they just tell me the truth? You know what I mean? So then we progressed more into like independent media. And then we realized, after we were like fully engrossed in independent media and trusted it, we're like, what the fuck? Like, these guys are just echoing the opinions of each other. Where's the actual, like, where's the research on this? Like, is this thing on? You know what I mean? Like, is anybody doing actual research? Is anybody actually, or are they just gonna commentate on what someone else said and their opinion and their story and their work that they put into it? Like, that's what we're doing? Like, that's it? Like, it's commentating about other commentators? Like, that doesn't make any sense to me. So like, we pulled back from that, and like, we had a whole like evolution process of like finally being like, no, I'm gonna do the research myself. Like, I'm gonna figure this shit out myself, and I'm gonna share my journey with others as I go, because I'm gonna do this research anyway, right? And I might as well talk about the research that I do and give it to other people and let them see what we've learned too. And so like, a lot of times, like when we do a show where we're covering like a topic and we're like, looking at articles and we're looking at reports and we're looking at studies of things, we put all the links in the chat, right? We're like, or we put them, I mean, in the description of the show, so anyone can go behind us and look at the same links that we looked at if they want to do further research than what we covered on the show. We're not
I
like,
post like links to my board onto my pictures when people ask, like, so what's the graphs? I'd like people to know what I've researched. Yeah.
exactly, like we're backing up our sources so that everybody can, you know what I mean, everybody can, you know, say, all right, well, I disagree with you on that point, but you got it from this article, so let me go read it and look into it further and maybe come and tell us a counterpoint or something or whatever, or they just evolve their opinion however they want, because we're not expecting anybody to ever replace our opinions with their own. We're saying, think for yourself. This is what we think. These are the facts that it's based upon. And you don't have to agree with us. And we're okay with that. And a lot of people don't know what to do with that. They're like, wait a minute. Everyone tells me that I have to agree with them and that their word is just like the word of you know, the gods. You know what I mean? Like, if we're not telling anybody that, we're like, hey, this is what we figured out. And this is what we think. And this is why. And
like a research paper would.
Yeah, like let's discuss this.
Here's a source piece of information. These are the sources. Make your own decision about it.
We're not going to get everything right. We're not going to get everything wrong, and we're not claiming to be experts of anything. You know, it's just like this is our process of our journey, where the research goes, and you know, like what kind of triggers us to talk about what and what is happening in the world. And that's all there is. And like, we don't require people to give us money to have their chats put up on screen. You don't have to, you know what I mean? We want to interact with you, whether or not you have the means or not. And if you give us financial support, then we're like grateful that you give some financial support, but it's not a requirement. We're not off limits just because, you know, like because you do or don't give us support. That's a bonus.
Not everything should be based on money. And that was something I was going to say earlier. All these people make their decisions based on money, and it shows. That's something you should always look into. If people that have integrity don't base it on money.
Yeah, I mean, you know, like we pay money to be able to stream live to Rumble. We pay money to, you know, to pay for StreamYard and stuff like that. And, you know, internet and, you know, other expenses and things like that and equipment upgrades. But we're not like, yeah, you have to like, you know, give us X amount for us to like look at what you're saying in the chat, or you know what I mean, or X amount to get this or that, you know, like we're not off limits. Well, we're very much like available for people.
Well, people and they make fun of me for supporting Twitter. Like I pay for Twitter. It's $8 a month. Like that's ridiculously low money for the amount of engagement and all the benefits I get for it. At least that's what I find. But if you want to support people based on your interests, you don't want to go out on the streets. You know, that's what kind of why I made my thing. You don't want to do the research. You don't want to do shows. So you support them, though. You want them to go on. That's how you support people. You want them to get new equipment. You want them to be able to continue. So that's where it becomes like necessary, like supporting the people that you care about and supporting businesses that you want to. That's where we hit them where they hurt too. If they go against you and start pushing ideology on children. But doing stuff for free is noble, and people giving you any support shows that they care. So I definitely,
it's amazing. Like when we get the support, or you know, we make, or somebody buys something that I made by hand. You know what I mean? Like that means a lot to me. And we're really being targeted right now. I have people like going behind blocks, or you know, they've blocked me. And anytime I post my stuff, they go and they say, "Oh, don't buy from this shop. She's blah blah blah. This or that or this." It's like
that can't even be illegal. That's harassment.
It is. You know? It is.
That's harassment. Wow.
And so it's like, really, you want to hurt poor people that are talking about their experiences, their truth, the things that are based in facts, and you want to hurt us because we're saying things that you don't like? Really? Like, guess what? Karma always knows how to find you. Karma always knows where you live. Karma always knows where you live. I don't have to do anything. it's the intention of what people put out there that will come back. So, and we all face our own karma, it's just, I don't have any ill feelings or whatever towards people that don't agree with me. Like that's fascism to
Try to
demand
silence people.
and silence people and want to censor people. Like, no, that's, I don't stand for that. Like, I think that that's absolutely bullshit to do.
No, I love the Billboard Chris gets yelled at all the time. That was one of my favorite clips of people yelling at him. They're saying that he's a fascist while they're trying to stop other people from speaking. It's like the funniest thing I've ever seen. It's like these people don't even know what words mean.
Yeah, there are people that came into this chat before we started our stream tonight and were making threats towards us.
I was trying not to pay attention to it earlier because I actually take things personally. I'm like, oh my gosh, people are saying mean things about me. But I realized it was probably those bots and stuff or jerks.
It's the
crazy people.
It's the people that up until like a couple of days ago. What was it? Friday? Yeah, Friday. Were perfectly fine with us.
You know who you are, hate watchers. We see
I'll let them hate watch. I would never do that. That seems weird, but let them do them.
I mean, whatever. It's a view, and you're giving me watch hours, so thanks.
Yeah.
Hi, hate watchers. Thank you for helping out, because any interaction with the content really does help us out.
It does.
Whether it's positive or negative, YouTube does not care.
I told Bella I'm building a stealth orca shaped submersible vessel made of cannabis resin and THC diamond composite materials.
Yeah, right.
Sign me up. I'm like, let's go see the Titanic, man.
No.
Do some bong rips on the bottom of the ocean, bro.
Oh, that's funny.
Get really stoned. Let's just get really stoned and not go watch the Titanic at the bottom of the ocean. That'll just be
Jerry, it's so true. Conspiracy theories are right so often. I've been calling them spoiler alerts. Yep.
Ooh, that makes me think of something. I have intuition, and it's not always right. And I like to put percentages on things, like what is the possibility it's going to happen. Conspiracy theories aren't always going to happen, but it's like, what is the possibility it will? And
it's a hypothesis.
Yeah. A lot of these are more than likely coming true.
It's a hypothesis, right? Like that's what scientists do. A conspiracy theory isn't a bad thing. Now, what is a conspiracy theory? It's two or more people theorizing about something. So we are being conspiracy theorists tonight as we are talking about things. You didn't even know it.
I just learned something.
Just wear a sign that says "I told you."
Yeah, I should say "I told you so." Yeah, Whitney Webb is.
And Vedmore could just wear signs that just say, told you.
Yeah. Yeah, Vedmore sent me a DM the other day and told me that he was releasing some crazy information. So you guys should be looking out. You should check out Whitney Webb.
Whitney Webb.
Yes.
I'll Google it.
We're gonna get you hooked up with some people that do phenomenal research.
Well, I'm trying to get into this community, so you're the first person to put me on a show, and I deeply respect you for that. And everyone remembers their first, so hopefully
I popped the cherry.
Hopefully, I wasn't too incoherent. I did rant a little bit and probably bring up something that your audience.
I think you did great.
Encourage ranting.
Yeah, we're casual here. It's like we're just friends talking on a freaking camera. Yeah. That's it. Yeah.
I like it. Yeah. I want to talk as much as possible. I would talk for hours. So
I know we've almost been talking for 3 hours already.
2:43. I was like, I have 2 more points to make. And I think she said 3.
Oh, so go ahead. Do it.
No, there was another one. Like an idea, because I'm serious about running for office. I'm not even joking. I'm coming up with
I believe you. I totally believe you.
Trying to come up with ways to get in the community, because I've actually been part of the fire department. I've been part of the EMT community. I know how to get attention, and I want to start neighborhood watches maybe. Like, I can't stand for certain things happening, seeing things happen. And the police are handcuffed nowadays. And I'm on like the verge of like starting like an association here in Arizona, like of groups to protect neighborhoods. Like I'm on the verge of trying to figure out how to do that. So that's an idea I'd like. If people are into that, I'd like to broadcast that and say that's something I'm considering. What's the thought?
Crazy in Arizona.
Oh, yeah. Steve said it's crazy there.
I spent some time.
Oh, it is. Yeah. I would not pick Phoenix. I'll say that. I wouldn't probably start a group in Phoenix or the worst areas. Like there's statistics that show you where the worst areas are. I wouldn't want people to be in dangerous areas. And I talked to the police, obviously. They'd say, hey, don't go to this area. But I'm very serious about starting groups that, or at least letting people know, hey, this isn't the area to be messing with. Hey, we've got people that care here. So that's a good way to do community engagement, I've been thinking.
Absolutely. I think that getting out in your community is the best way to affect change in your community. If you want a better community, then be in your community,
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's amazing. Yeah. Like, see if you can, if there's any like local events in your community that you can start going to and talking to people that are organizers and kind of like where they sit with things. And, you'll find your niche. And you'll find your niche of local people. I have complete faith in you because I've seen what you've done like already. You know what I mean? Like it's just like, and you're just at the beginning of this. Yeah, you have a fire in you that is, you know what I mean? That I don't think it's going to just go out.
It could, but with support and continuing to get the message out, I don't see that they're going to burn my fire. Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm afraid of people attacking me because like even the W path, like I may get noticed. So like there people will silence me and I will have to.
And you gotta be prepared.
Yeah.
We talked about that. You know what I mean? Like just how to be prepared for it. Know when to like recognize when somebody's gaslighting you. And knowing when to like sometimes it's really hard to like walk away from a conversation because you get like just to the point where you're just like, why won't this person just understand? Right. But like sometimes we have to know when it's time to walk away and when it's time to say, you know what? All right, I wish you the best, but we're not getting anywhere. This is going in a circle, and other times it's just, it's fun to continue a conversation to see if you can find a middle ground with somebody. So, you have to kind of.
I've learned the benefit of conversation, and that's not a lot of people understand that. It took me a long time. Like I even, like I said, I'm vulnerable to groupthink. I like to fit in. I want to figure out how to not get in trouble or get bullied. But, oh, wow. Oh man, why is it 3 times? I didn't even take a hit. This is something I'm going to have to overcome, public speaking. And I know all my errors and issues.
I think you're doing great. I think that you've done great. Like you've been able to hold the conversation. You're engaging. You know what I mean? You have all your.
Going out and talking to people. There's a benefit to it. So like I used to think that just I know what I'm doing. I don't need to educate people. I don't need to talk to people. Let them learn on their own. But people kind of sometimes need to learn and be talked to and told and discussed with. So like I'm willing to go out there now, and because like I said, I see the benefit. I see like, okay, not only will they get a benefit from it, I will too, because I'll learn perspectives. That's how I learned to fit in. Is like, okay, it's social science. 75% of people act this way. If I'm in this group and I act this way, I won't get made fun of. If I'm in this group and I act this way, I won't get made fun of. So learning people and figuring out people and how to communicate with them and talk to them is something we should all do.
You just need to find the other oddballs that are going to be honest with you, that are going to tell you the truth, and that that they're okay. Yeah, you found some. So like, and this community is really great here. It's really supportive, and there's people from like all different backgrounds and all different countries and all different beliefs, and like that's what makes it so great, is that we're not an echo chamber, and we don't try to be one, and we don't want to be one.
People will push back, as you can see. You know what I mean? Like That's what just happened. You guys were talking about voting and running for Congress and stuff, and I'm like, okay, well, I can't just in all good faith sit here and let you guys discuss that without telling you how I feel about it.
I did feel bad about bringing it up
That would be
without 3
disingenuous.
hours. Yeah, no, you feel free to say anything, and your beliefs matter to me. I need to know what
absolutely.
people believe.
That's how we are on here anyway. You know what I mean? I'm easily amused playing with my tablet and looking at stuff. And listening to you guys, so.
But then you heard something you couldn't.
I heard something that resonated. I was like, wait a second, hold on.
Yeah, he was like, ding ding. No, I gotta say something.
Went off.
No, I appreciate that kind of input because going in blindly to anything is not smart.
Absolutely.
And if I just went into something without taking an input, I'd be a fool. And I even think of outside. I think outside the box, and I think I like to think I've thought of everything, but I haven't. So yeah, absolutely.
Too, you know,
We don't want you to get ruined by politics.
I've watched lots of people with that same great intention and same intent, same intensity. You know what I mean? Like you're energized and ready to try to change something, and that's beautiful. And I will not condemn anybody for feeling that way and having passion and wanting to do good. That's
could do it too.
We don't want them to dim your light.
Fucking chew you up and spit you out like they normally do with every single person who started with good intentions.
They'll threaten me too. Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, they'll everything that you hold dear will be in jeopardy if you speak out of turn. That is exactly how this whole thing works. That's why
I know.
our little corner here, so as to not disrupt the regular shenanigans of fucking electoral politics that are happening in indie media right now. Like
I might stick to journalism, but we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, it's really like where you can be effective. You have more energy and you're smart and you pay attention.
Like you say that. Like I was effective in the medical field. I left the psych field and I went, and I'll say this, I left and I went back to freaking Circle K because I'm like, I'm done with the psych field. I'm going to find a different EMT job. And this person who I talked to for 12 hours, because I was on a 12-hour hold with him because he was suicidal. I talked with him for the whole 12 hours because he's my shift. He's my cause. I'm there for him.
Yeah.
And he walked into the Circle K 2 days after I had quit. He's like, you saved my life. What the hell are you doing here? And it's just, you can connect to people. You can affect change. But I let the administrators destroy me. And they did. They won. So I didn't affect change anymore. And I literally I don't think I'm going to let people do that to me again.
So that's the thing that I was like, getting at basically.
Yeah,
like
I know. That's why I bring it up.
Velocity and your eagerness to do those things will be fucking stifled at every turn because the system is fucked and it's broken.
I'm willing to tell a cop he shouldn't be following me though. Like I know. We'll see how many boxes people I'm willing to challenge.
Yeah. No, and I think you have to. Everybody has to challenge the next person and hold them accountable. Otherwise, we're going to get nowhere. We're just spinning our tires. At least if you challenge somebody to do the right thing, then maybe you have two people doing the right thing. And if you can challenge two more people, then you got, you know what I mean? Like that's how things grow exponentially. That's how actual movements make change.
The reason that I'm on the streets too, and I talk on Twitter a lot, and I even talk to transgender people or people that disagree with me, is I feel like I'm a chain and a link. Like and Bill Maher kind of said this, and I don't know the exact quote, but he was a drunk at one point in his life, and 10, 11 of his friends, however many of it was, told him he was a drunk, and they kind of like, they're still his friends, but they're like, dude, you're drinking too much. This is obscene. Grow up.
So they were honest. They were honest with him.
Right. And he ignored all of them, and he told them to F off.
But of course.
Eventually, he listened. So it's a chain and a link to the human brain. That eventually, someone will hear you. If 12 people in a row tell them something, and they're like, I've learned.
Baba Yaga,
So,
nice to see you.
Hey, Baba. She got a freaking timeout on freaking Twitter for like 12 hours.
I'm sorry.
The most basic thing. Like, I don't remember the exact phrasing of what you said.
Let's talk about autism for the next 5 minutes. We're talking about politics too much, it looks like, based on her comment.
Oh, no. She said, no, she's like, it's this, all these other channels, that's all they focus on. That's all it is. Like, they're just completely so focused on like I mean, I will speak and you can let me know, Baba. they get stuck on like the identity politics, right? And very like in their lane, what it is, who's running for president. And that's the thing is that we're pretty far out from that. We still have a ways to go before that's even going to be a thing. Like, I think we need to like work on things that are actually happening now and focus on things that are happening now, what we can control, not what's going to happen in like 15 months or something from now. You know what I mean? So, I mean, yes, if you're getting on a campaign to push somebody, then that's a different thing. Then you need to obviously be on there earlier. But like otherwise, all these other channels, like that's all they're focusing on. They're not focusing on actually what's happening within our communities and what we can do in our communities and what's happening with real people. Like I like having different guests and different people that come on that are that are viewers of the show to also come on and be part of the show, because everybody has something that they are able to contribute. And that's what I think is really amazing. And then that's what like gives us such a well-rounded view of things, is when we have people from like all different backgrounds and everything come on the show. I think that that's really super important.
Mm-hmm. We have to talk about that stuff. Yeah.
And Devin also, Devin said, I left Psych to work at a restaurant. Yeah.
Yeah.
So like I already knew that. I already knew that he left the Psych, and like, you know, because I talked to Devin a lot. Yeah. And so like I already knew all those things. But like when you said that, I was just thinking, yeah, these guys, yeah.
Yeah. Oh no, we've become friends recently, and there's obviously a reason why. A lot of lived experience. It's probably similar.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Like we can't put up with it either. Like obviously, if he left to go to a freaking restaurant, there's a reason. Like that's his career. I left the medical field, and I was building a career in it.
Yeah, he was
trying to build a different career. So it's a big decision to leave your career. So,
it is. Yeah. It is. But you need something that's gonna keep that spark for you. You know what I mean? Something that's that you can really explore and that you can give your all and not feel like it's draining you more than you're giving. You know what I mean? Like you need to have something that you have balance with it.
Is there another comment you wanted to talk about? Oh, there we go.
A lot of people got timeouts today on Twitter. Some for 3 days. Yeah, people were getting like really destroyed. I don't know what's going on. Like everybody's getting like all these timeouts, and they're like really censoring people, and I'm not really sure exactly what's happening. Like if it's like a glitch or if there's somebody like being malicious.
I didn't pay attention much to Twitter today. I've been moving. I think I've been talking about that. I wasn't even on Twitter that much. Yeah. So I've just been, this is my apartment.
It's probably good, right?
Yeah, yeah, I guess I probably would have been banned.
We saved you from a ban. See?
Yeah.
You saved yourself.
They do this in like spurts from what I've noticed. They'll go out and like say, hey, everybody start reporting these people. So I would believe that. I get targeted by groups. Like you say, you're getting targeted by a group. So that makes sense. But I've learned what not to say. So hopefully they aren't able to do it to me anymore.
I had people like saying that they were trying to mass report me, and they're like, we can't get her banned. And like they were complaining, right? That they couldn't get me banned. And it's like, I'm not saying anything that's hateful. What are you talking? They're not gonna like. What are you talking about?
That makes me think of something. I once posted a picture of a book. I kid you not, and I said, "Do it, do it." Now they reported me for suicide and self-harm. I meant read the book, do it. I had my account instantly locked for 12 hours. So I learned what I can and can't say. You literally have to be really careful with these people. If they're watching your account, and again, I've had people watching my account since I had 300 followers, and they can't get me. And that Mike person that did the attack on me recently, he is on Spaces. Like, I've never said anything. Prove it. It's like, I heard you in Spaces say, let's all report him. Go on your other accounts and report him. They have multiple accounts that they're trying to report people on. So there's crazy people in this world. and they're bored.
That are so for censorship. They are for censorship. Like they're like, this person, they're making too much sense and too much truth or whatever, or I just don't like the truth, or I don't like what their opinion is. It's like, we're all entitled to have different opinions. I don't agree with Steve all the time. Come on.
I was 19 when I heard one of the best quotes ever, and it's from one of the first girls. It was actually from the girl I lost my V card to, side related. But her favorite quote, she was a political person before I was. She said, I would fight for you. I don't have to agree with what you say, but I would fight for your right to say it. And that always resonated with me. I'm like,
yeah, I will fight. I will fight for the right if you are not willing to fight for the right for people to say things that you don't agree with, then you're not really for freedom of speech. That is just all there is to it. I am willing to fight for people to say the things that are enshrined in free speech. I'm a free speech absolutist. Even if I don't agree with them, even if I think it's wrong what they're saying, and I think that it's morally reprehensible what they're saying, they still have the right to say it, and I have the right to counter what they're saying. You know what I mean? Because
they're trying to take it away, like you say.
It's crazy.
There was one last thing, but we're like right at 3 hours.
Go for it. You're fine.
I'm just trying to. I was trying to think of it. There's the words. Someone spit on me because I was thinking of all the videos I had posted out. We hadn't talked about that yet. Like I was literally just out there standing with my sign, and I try to engage people. I have got a message to try and get people's attention, and a lot of people do approach me and listen to me, even from different views and different religions, and. This person, who's a transgender person, and obviously they're presenting that way. They're a man that is not a old school transsexual. They're the new age version, and you can tell by the way they behave that they don't respect me, they don't respect my space, and they didn't respect my sign. They walked by me, and they actually were interested in the sign because they seemed a little off. They may have a lot of friends that are ostracized, and ostracized people are sometimes autistic. So they may care about the subject, and they read it and they go, from what? What's causing that? And I go, well, puberty blockers and sex surgery. And they just looked at me and they wanted to spit in my face. And you could see it because I can recognize that. I've had so many weird reactions, and they decided to spit on my sign though. But they just walked off and like acted like a kid.
I think I saw that video and they just like kind of like stormed off from you. And I was just like, oh, it's just really weirdly aggressive for being such an inclusive crowd of people. It's really not.
I'm just sitting there talking, and they ask a question. I answered it, and it got that reaction. It's mind-blowing. It's funny. Like, how do you not laugh at that? Like, people are like, I would have reacted poorly. And like, if they would have spit in my face knowing they're a man, I probably would have reacted differently. But they didn't.
And that's what's crazy is that people are self-IDing and wearing the clothing, and they're not in the role. They're not actually doing the role of that.
That wasn't feminine.
Yeah, no, it's not. And it's not, it's, and then they want to be able to hit women. And it's like, wait a minute here. Your whole biology, everything about you, your lung capacity, the way you think, the way that you're physically, men can literally, I think it's 95% of women are vulnerable to that. They can be, taken out by a man. 95%. Like it's you have an advantage that women typically do not have.
It's because of puberty, and we got a lot of testosterone at puberty, and we get big muscles. It's what happens. Science. I don't want to argue with science, but other people do.
I mean, it is what it is. I mean, there is a difference between our genders, and that's cool. Like, I like that there's a difference between our genders. I like, having, women of all different walks of life and backgrounds and like everything. Like, I want us to keep, I feel like there's an erasure of women that's happening, and it makes me sad, you know.
Especially as a parent of a daughter, that affects me too. Yeah.
Yeah, you know, like women are, you know, like we haven't even had our rights for that long. Okay, like let's just be completely honest about that. You know,
Yeah.
like women
The men
haven't
took it
had.
over.
Yeah, women really haven't had the same rights. We still don't make the same amount of money. We still are seen as second class citizens in a lot of ways. So like, you know, we just got the right to vote like how many years ago? You know what I mean? Like it's really it's really like it's disheartening because our rights can be taken away really quickly. As
It was like
quickly
1935. It was a long time ago. Yeah. So how long ago? And now you're making me wonder. Like, it's been so long since school. I should know this for civics. It was like in the 20s or 30s, right? 20s or 30s, you guys got your
it
right
was
to
the
vote.
30s.
Yeah.
But like you know what I mean? But still, you know what I mean? Like it's not like we've had them this whole time. You know what I mean? Like so we need to realize that just as quickly they can be taken away from us. And standing up for women's rights is not standing against somebody else's rights. It literally means that we're standing up for women's rights. We can also stand up for trans rights. We could also stand up for other people's rights. You know what I mean? Everybody deserves to have their rights and have their
Feel
space.
safe and happy.
Yeah, everybody deserves that. And standing up for women isn't trying to like put anybody else down. And like I feel like that's a thing. Like people assume that if you're, you know what I mean, if you are standing up for women's rights, that means that you want someone else's rights to be taken away. And that's not the case.
Yeah, no, that's a fair point. I'm glad you bring that up. It's not something I probably would have said because it's not exactly my cause, but you're absolutely right. We shouldn't be making anybody feel excluded and making women feel different than or imposed upon by these men is not appropriate. They shouldn't be, or trans people. They should make people feel comfortable, not imposed upon.
Yeah, like same thing like with your cause, and you know, it's specifically with trans autistic children, right, that are being harmed. Standing up for autistic children and having compassion and you know what I mean, and bringing awareness to that doesn't mean that you're like, oh, if you're not an autistic kid, then I don't want you to have any rights. You know, that's not what that means. It means that you are literally standing up for that group of people, and that is your interest. That you
it's my
are
personal story. Yeah.
and it personally affects you. So like that doesn't mean that you're like against kids that are not autistic. That doesn't mean that. Like it's a false equivalence that I think it happens.
If anybody said that to me, I'd probably laugh. Like, what do you mean? Explain further, please. Like that's
yeah,
ridiculous.
like that doesn't make any sense. But I feel like that's like somehow the logic that gets like enshrined in people. It's like, just because I'm standing up for something here doesn't mean that I'm like trying to put somebody down over here, or that I'm trying to hurt somebody over there, or anything like that. That's not what that means. And I think that people get really confused by that, and they don't really like know what to do with it. Like
it's a defensiveness. It's they're afraid of losing things that they think they have. They're afraid of possibly losing something that they're obsessed about. Like I said, it's a special interest to a lot of these people. Like they're so focused on being the opposite gender, and you're literally trying to take that from them. So they're fighting for their life, in their opinion. So that's how they see it.
Grey Walker said, "You have to air out such topics. It's the only way to get to the truth. If it's covered, how can you know?" Exactly. But like, people don't want us airing these topics out. They don't want us to like, you know, bring it out in the sunlight and say, okay, well, like my best friend who is transsexual, like he always says to me, like you have to like talk about it, and you have to figure out where that line of offensiveness is. Where does it begin? And if you don't talk about it, you'll never know where it becomes offensive and where it's not offensive. And if we aren't doing it, then you know what I mean? Like if we're not walking up to that line to see like, okay, well, where is that line of offense? Well,
that's kind of what comedy used to do. Talking about that earlier, bringing that back together, tying it in.
It's like all of it is all being smothered and pushed down, and like you can't talk. It's all this controlling of our speech.
That's so sad. Yeah, they do control, and I knew that before, but it's become even more aware to me, and it's beyond unacceptable. I now see, like you say, like why you're doing this, why people are now becoming independent journalists, because even there's a lot of people, and that's why Alex Jones got popular. I guess I wasn't even aware of why he became a thing. It's making more sense to me now. People are looking for different types of information, and it's not mainstream media anymore.
Yeah, they don't trust mainstream.
It's going away soon. If I'm realizing it finally, it's as a person that's sometimes learns slowly.
I think it's aging itself out. I think there's a lot of the older generation that still like is. I mean, we don't have cable. We haven't had cable. I don't even like. It's been like at least a decade.
Pretty soon, Twitter will have streaming, and a lot of the news will have to be on Twitter because that's where the audience will be, like you're saying. I think that's what you're getting at. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's what it's kind of like how it's going to be. It's going to be like Rumble. It's going to be YouTube. It's going to be, Odyssey doesn't have as much of a platform, but there's other like streaming services that, like these are going to be the places that people go to for their information. I mean, think about like on Twitter, how much information is shared on there. Like it's crazy. And once the algorithm kind of like figures out what your what your interest really is on the site, like they push that for you. So like if I go on Steve's
you can defeat that, but yes, I hear you.
Huh?
You can defeat that, but it does do that. That's what the algorithm does. You have to like people of different opinions so that your algorithm doesn't get.
Yeah. Oh yeah. But I'm saying like Steve's is completely different than mine. You know what I mean? If I go on his, like it is just completely like, it's a completely different like where his interests kind of like, where what he's clicked on, who he's liked, and you know what I mean? Like I have like people from like all different backgrounds. I love that. I love the diversity, like I want that. I don't want people to just echo back the same thing to me. Like then I could just talk to myself all day,
Some people like that, as you've learned.
Some people that's where they're comfortable, right? Like they're comfortable just getting that back.
Oh,
like
you made me think of something from earlier, like talking about challenging yourself. People don't like to challenge themselves. Like I used to be a game streamer. I only got up to like 500 followers. Like it never really became a thing because I beyond the point. But these people, like my main point was, why don't you try it on hard? Why don't you try it on the extreme mode? And they go, I only do anything on easy because life is too difficult. It's like, well, no, that's not how you should do it. Try the normal mode, try the hard mode, advance your skill, get better. It's just some people's mentality is really bad. That's why these were really big people. These are people that are lazy. These are people that people just need to get out of their echo chambers that are dominated on stuff like that. I was trying to tie it together. Ooh, it's frustrating.
It can be, absolutely. Well, I hope everybody that is on Twitter, I know not everybody here in the audience is on Twitter, but if you are and you like what, you know what I mean? There must be something. If you're watching, there must be something that the Dark Shaman has said. So if you do, please give him a follow. And we'll be having you back on when you want to come back on. Just let us know.
When I have more videos to talk about, I think we talked about a lot of the videos, my cause at least, and I'll talk to you about anything that you guys want. And if your followers have questions, feel free to ask, and we'll engage in discourse.
Absolutely. Is there anywhere else that they can follow you right now? Do you have a YouTube channel or anything that you're using?
I do, but it's more focused on gaming.
Okay.
If they do game, you could follow me at Gaming Videos from an Aspie. So it's just like the reason I named it that is just because I'd like to notice different things, and I called it From an Aspie because I'd like to find different strategies and unique strategies. So I post videos of stuff like that. But that's the whole intention of that, and I'm going to put my Asperger's towards a different topic on Twitter, which is more towards autistic children being sterilized, and if people care.
Yeah, I think it would be awesome if you did create or a YouTube or a Rumble channel or something where you could upload your videos too as you take them, to have them kind of like documented as you go. And you
They
could
censor it though. It's so hard on YouTube. I'm trying to get on Rumble. I just haven't had the time, or I've been doing other things. Rumble, I hear you about. I'm going to try and probably
Steve knows how to do all the Rumble stuff. He sets all the streams up for me and all of that. So like if you need help, we'll get you in contact.
Okay. I think he followed me and we can message now. So okay. Yeah, no, I'll definitely do that because I do like to be able to store video, and like you say, so people can download it and spread it easier.
Absolutely. And then you can always keep stuff unpublished if you want to, if you just want to have your video there, if you want to be able to do other stuff with it. And we'll talk more about that. So hang out right there for a minute, and I want to say thank you to everybody for coming by and hitting the like button and following the Dark Shaman on Twitter. And I am oh my god, I just totally had a brain fart. I'm like
Thanks for engaging us.
Yeah, thanks for hanging out with us tonight, everybody. So yeah, luckyburritoart.com. Yeah, and we're going to have to come up with a new code or something to put on sale for this month. I don't know what we're going to do. We'll let you guys know. We'll be announcing it probably any day now.
If you like what you heard, support Lucky. She brings on people to talk about non-echo chamber stuff.
Yeah. Break the echo chamber.
Mm-hmm.
All right, everybody. Have a great night.
Thank you.